My uncle insisted on taking my sister and me on an overseas trip just before the college entrance exams. I urged my sister to focus on her studies, but she mocked me for being a bookworm. My parents favor my sister and forced me to accompany her on the trip to relax. Furious, I tore up my passport, hid my ID card, and perfectly missed the flight's departure, failed to go abroad. My uncle suggested a self-driving trip again. I still refused, but in the end, my sister drugged me and forcibly tied me to the car. After being forced to travel, what greeted us wasn't beautiful scenery, but a living hell in northern Myanmar. Parents' money could only redeem one person, and they chose my sister, and I died under the hollow barrel of a gun. Opening my eyes again, I found myself back on the day my uncle came over for dinner. The front door swung open, and my uncle walked in, luggage in hand and a pile of gifts. Looking weary from travel, "Uncle," my sister excitedly rushed forward, and my parents' faces lit up with joy. Only I, separated by the thin door of the room, broke out in a cold sweat all over. I cracked open the door and saw the exact same scene from my past life. My sister had changed into beautiful clothes, my mother was wearing new jade jewelry, and my father was chuckling softly while holding a bottle of treasured Maotai liquor, and in the narrow eyes of my own uncle, a calculating light flickered. At this moment, I am certain I have been reborn. My heart is pounding wildly, my mind filled with the grievances and despair of my past life. In my past life, just before the college entrance exam, my uncle insisted on taking my sister and me on an overseas trip. I didn't want anything to go wrong with the exam, so I refused and decided to focus on my studies. My sister really wanted to go, because she had already taken the art entrance exam, and she was very confident that her score would definitely rank first, so she didn't care much about her cultural subjects. My uncle kept telling us to go to Thailand first for a trip, and then our real destination would be France. Hearing about going to France, my sister's eyes lit up. She has always been vain. If she could dance on the streets of France, beneath the Eiffel Tower, paired with the buzz that she might win the top rank in the art exam, the video would surely go viral online. It would not only pave the way for her future art career, but also give her face among her friends. Thinking of this, my sister immediately agreed to go on the trip, but I was extremely reluctant. With the college entrance exam approaching, I didn't want to waste any time. Moreover, I didn't have any special advantages that could help me excel in the exam. I could only make the most of every minute to identify and fill in the gaps in my knowledge, striving to stabilize my performance while aiming for improvement. In my previous life, my reaction angered my sister. She cried and made a scene at home, and my parents unfairly blamed me. I felt deeply wronged but stood firm in my decision. However, my uncle said that if I didn't go, he would temporarily cancel the travel plans. This immediately set my sister off. She forced me to go, and I angrily resisted, tearing up my passport and hiding my ID card at my best friend's house. I thought the matter would end there, but then my uncle suggested a road trip. I still insisted on going to school, but my sister drugged me, knocked me out, and forcibly tied me up in the car. At first, my uncle did take us to a few scenic spots and even sent photos to our parents, but after we checked into the hotel, we were imprisoned. Later, my sister and I were tied up by a group of people and locked in a truck full of poultry, transported to northern Myanmar. It was then that we realized our uncle's intention was to kidnap us and then extort a ransom from our parents. My sister cried and blamed me for not stopping her, scolding me for reading so many books yet not being smart enough, for failing to see our uncle's true intentions. During the days of captivity, she either hit or cursed at me, and we often fought fiercely, only to be met with brutal beatings from others. A month later, my uncle said my parents had paid the ransom to rescue someone. I waited with anticipation, but in the end, my uncle only took my sister away. He said my parents didn't have enough money, and they specifically asked to rescue my sister first. At that moment, my heart ached intensely. I wanted to cry, but I found not a single tear would fall, so my biological parents could be biased enough to send their favoritism into outer space. My own sister would drug me just for a trip, my own uncle would harm his own family for money. Everyone has an escape route, but me, I died in this conspiracy. My foot was snapped by a bear trap, my body riddled with bullets, dying while trying to flee. Outside, I heard my mom calling me for dinner. I took a deep breath, put on a fake expression, and walked out the door. This time, I will make them all feel the despair and pain I once endured. Too, before the meal, my uncle, just like in my previous life, took out photos he had taken in Thailand for us to admire. He pointed to a girl on the screen with a pretty and dignified appearance, saying, "Look, she's a young girl who traveled to our place last month. She's a top student and has been recommended for admission to a university. To avoid the crowds, her family arranged an off-peak trip for her, and it was so much fun. Because she traveled during the off-peak season, she even took photos with many Thai celebrities and princesses. Look, here, all of these are her photos. Our travel agency used them for promotion, and the results were amazing. My uncle kept scrolling through the pictures on his phone for us to see. I looked up and observed that my sister was just as fascinated as in my previous life. And my parents also wore expressions of envy. Uncle suddenly looked at me, and I immediately feigned an envious expression. He smiled contentedly and said to my mom, "Sis, it's the off-season for travel now. Why not let Xiaolin and Xiaoji go abroad for a trip? I'll cover the expenses and make the arrangements." Upon hearing that uncle would pay, my sister immediately pleaded with Mom, just let me go with Xiaoji. I've already finished my art exams anyway, so there's nothing to worry about. In my past life, it wasn't me who refused first, it was Dad." Sure enough, the next second Dad frowned and said, "No way, the college entrance exam is too important. Even if you pass the art exam, there's still the cultural subjects test. Are you really that confident?" Sister rolled her eyes, clearly unhappy. Hearing this, Uncle laughed again and said, "It's okay, brother-in-law, actually, this trip is an internal staff trip for our travel agency. We'll visit many places, and we're just transiting through Thailand to meet my colleagues there." He mysteriously opened his phone's photo album and showed Mom and Dad a very romantic and gorgeous photo, proudly saying, "To be honest with you, the employee welfare route we planned this time is in Europe. We're going to France." "France!" my sister screamed, her fair cheeks turning red with excitement. "Then I can dance under the Eiffel Tower." Of course I knew what she was excited about. In my past life, her best friend was a rich, beautiful girl who traveled abroad all the time and always brought her gifts whenever she returned. But my sister had extremely strong pride. Although she accepted all the gifts, she secretly always felt inferior to her best friend, often complaining to me and insulting her friend for showing off her wealth. If she could really travel to France with her uncle this time, she would definitely be able to stand on equal footing with her best friend and never have to feel embarrassed again. Moreover, she thought that just by casually filming a few videos on the streets of France and buying some marketing accounts to hype her up as a little beauty in the art exam, the traffic and popularity would naturally follow. In my previous life, I was solely focused on refusing to go on the trip, so I didn't think too deeply or carefully about my sister's reaction. Looking back now, it turns out that I was the one who stood in her way back then, which provoked her to retaliate against me so fiercely. She even went as far as drugging me, her own biological sister, ultimately causing my death. "Dad, Mom, I have to go with Uncle. Going to France is such a rare opportunity. If I can shoot a dance video in France, it will definitely blow up all over the internet." The same lines from 2 lifetimes came out of my sister's mouth again. Mom was smiling sweetly, but Dad had a stern expression. This reaction was quite different from the previous life, but no matter what, I had decided to help my sister and ensure she smoothly went abroad. As long as she wants to go, I'll send her to take a stroll around even if it's hell, let alone France. 3. I raised a fake smile, excitedly grabbed my sister's hand, and screamed together with her, "Ah, are we really going to France? None of us have ever been abroad. Will Uncle really take us?" I glanced at my uncle, then turned back and screamed at my parents. "Uncle said he'll pay for it and arrange everything. Just let me and my sister go together." All right, you two sisters settle down." Mom couldn't stop smiling. With such a promising younger brother, she felt quite proud in front of Dad, but Dad suddenly got angry. "No one is allowed to go. If anyone dares to go, don't call me your father. Something's not right." These were definitely not the words Dad had said in my previous life. I instinctively looked up at Dad, and he gave me a deep glance in return. Then, softening his expression, he prepared to comfort my sister. However, my sister, with her spoiled temper, threw down her chopsticks and burst into tears. "If you won't let me go, then I won't take the exam. I don't care about the cultural scores anymore." What kind of parents in the world would stop their own child from going abroad to broaden their horizons? "Do you want me to be stuck in this small town for the rest of my life?" my sister blurted out. "Dad, if you can't afford to send me abroad for studies, that's fine, but now you won't even let me take this great opportunity. Do you just want to tie me down in this small place, to be looked down upon for the rest of my life?" Dad angrily slapped the table. "Xiaolin, what nonsense are you talking? I'm doing this for your own good. There are so many bad people abroad these days. It's not safe. Be good and listen to Dad." once your college entrance exams are over, Dad will go abroad with you. But my sister was completely unmoved, crying so hard she could barely catch her breath, insisting on going to France. Seeing my sister cry, my biased mother also grew anxious and upset, turning to Dad with a barrage of complaints. "Chen-hai, can't you talk properly to our daughter? Why are you shouting like that? You've made Xiaolin cry." She then turned to me and yelled, "Your sister is crying like this, and you don't even know to hand her a tissue to wipe her tears." I rolled my eyes and, suppressing my hatred, pulled out 2 tissues and threw them at my sister's face. My sister kept crying and wailing. Dad seemed to recall something and immediately shouted at me, "Chen Xiaoji, don't you also not want to go on this trip? Hurry up and persuade your sister. It's almost the college entrance exam, don't you want to focus on reviewing? If you go, you won't be able to accompany your sister, right?" He coaxed my sister. "Look, Xiaoji has to prepare for the college entrance exam, she doesn't have time to travel, we won't feel at ease if you go alone. How about we just forget it?" I immediately said in disappointment. I really want to go too, this is such a rare opportunity. And Uncle doesn't invite us to travel abroad every time." "Dad, you're going too far, using me as a shield just so sister can't go." Hearing my words, sister cried even harder, even pushing all the food on the table onto the floor. She acted like a madwoman who couldn't get candy. "If you don't let me go to France, I'll tear the house apart." "Great, that's a perfect way to go crazy. In this lifetime, I won't be the one to tell you not to go. Respect your fate, save my life." My sister smashes whatever she gets her hands on. The floor and walls of the room are covered in greasy food and shards of bowls and plates. Mom was screaming right beside us, unable to be persuaded. At that moment, the uncle who had started it all spoke slowly. "Sister, brother-in-law, I think you must have misunderstood. How could there be any danger for our own employees traveling? We've been running an international travel agency for over 10 years. Basic safety measures are definitely in place. If you're concerned about the cost, I've already said it, I'll cover it all." Dad glared darkly. "You'll pay. Let me ask you, where is your travel agency located now? Do you have a business license? What's the boss's name? What kind of business are you even doing in Thailand?" Don't make me say it out loud. Mom and sister were completely confused, while Uncle frowned and replied, "Brother-in-law, what do you mean? Are you investigating me? Do you suspect I have ill intentions?" Dad sneered coldly. "You know exactly what you've been scheming." Uncle flew into a rage and kicked over the wine bottle beside his foot. "Xiaolin and Xiaoji are my own nieces. Would I ever harm them? I've been doing pretty well in Thailand these past few years, making a bit of money, so I said I'd take them abroad to broaden their horizons. Now you're actually saying I want to harm them. Sis, I'm not some rich guy or an official. No wonder my brother-in-law looks down on me and thinks I have ulterior motives. I've helped you out so many times over the years, and now I don't even get a word of thanks. Forget it, forget about going to France. I'll take my friends instead, since you all look down on me anyway." After saying that, Uncle picked up his suitcase and was about to walk out, but my sister, as if gone mad, grabbed his hand and begged him to take her to France. Seeing this, my parents immediately rushed over to pull my sister away, while I took the opportunity to stroll to the door, pretending to see Uncle off, but actually quickly pulling out my phone to scan his WeChat QR code. My uncle softened his attitude toward me. "Xiaoji is so sensible, it's just a pity about Xiaolin. Her romantic French dream is about to shatter. Hee, with me around, none of her dreams will ever shatter." I obediently added him as a friend, closed the door, and secretly sent a message to my uncle. "Uncle, you must save a spot for my sister. I'll definitely persuade Dad to let her go." My uncle replied to me quickly, "Of course. This trip was originally prepared for you. You and your sister must both come. I'll wait for your message." 4. The whole night was chaotic. My sister cried herself to sleep, and my parents had a big argument in their room. The earlier farce has confirmed that Dad has also been reborn. Is he trying to prevent the tragedy by desperately stopping my sister from going on the trip? I quietly approached the door and pressed my ear against it to eavesdrop on my parents' conversation. Mom cried, "Chen-hai, my brother has treated you well, hasn't he? He always brings you cigarettes, alcohol, and supplements during the holidays, and he even gave you a gold watch worth tens of thousands for your birthday. How are you treating him now? Do you have any conscience?" Dad, feeling guilty for having accepted favors, spoke with a much weaker tone. "Oh, please don't make things worse, okay? Just listen to me first." Mom snorted. "Fine, then tell me, why won't you let Xiaolin travel abroad, and why do you treat my brother like that?" If you can't give me a proper reason, I'll smash your gold watch and throw away all your cigarettes and alcohol. All right, stop talking nonsense. Dad got flustered, but mindful of my sister and me next door, he deliberately lowered his voice, saying, "Do you believe in rebirth?" Mom didn't say anything for a moment, though I had prepared myself mentally. My palms still broke out in nervous sweat. Dad sighed, "You might not believe it, but I've truly been reborn. In my previous life, our Xiaolin was almost killed by your younger brother. He wasn't some employee from a Thai travel agency at all. He was a human trafficker sent from northern Myanmar to China to abduct people." Dad sighed again. "We were deceived by him. Xiaolin and Xiaoji were kidnapped to northern Myanmar, and he extorted ransom from us. In the end, we spent all our money and only managed to rescue Xiaolin. Thank goodness we managed to save Xiaolin." Mom sighed in relief. I stood frozen, my heart suddenly torn apart as if by a sharp knife, a dull ache mixed with fragmentation. "Thank goodness we managed to save Xiaolin. What about Xiaoji then? Am I not worthy of being saved, Mom? But are all these things you said true?" Mom began to doubt again. Dad was a bit annoyed. "Would I risk Xiaolin? Forget it. I can't make it clear to you. Just remember, you must not let her go abroad with your brother. But this is a rare opportunity." Mom hesitated, then tentatively asked, "What if my brother insists on taking Xiaolin?" After a moment of silence, Dad seemed to have made up his mind. "If he refuses to let it go, we can only do our best to protect Xiaolin. What about Xiaoji? We'll see." What on earth did I do wrong? Since childhood, I've been obedient, hardworking, and ambitious. I never asked my parents for anything or caused them any trouble. Everyone held me up as a role model, and my friends often praised me, yet in my parents' eyes, I'm utterly worthless. Such a me is not even as good as my older sister, who knows how to cry, make a fuss, dance, and act cute. The experiences of my past life were so dark and terrifying, yet Dad only felt sorry for my sister for being frightened, and in the end, Mom was only happy that my sister was saved. What about me? But it was you and my sister who personally pushed me into the abyss. In my past life, it was you, my own parents, who ignored my wishes, allowed my sister to put sleeping pills in my milk, and ultimately helped my uncle send me away in that car, just to make my sister happy. You personally destroyed my life like this. Even if it costs me my life, they don't care at all. Then what should I care about? Family, affection, parents, sisters. I reached out and wiped the tears from my eyes forcefully, my lips bitten by my teeth from the intensity of emotion. The salty tears mixed with the sweet, metallic blood were all swallowed down into my stomach. I swore I would make sure they all received their comeuppance. Only then can I settle all the grievances from my past and present lives. 5. From then on, Dad insisted on driving my sister and me to and from school every day. In the car, he would always intentionally or unintentionally mention where he would take my sister for fun trips after the college entrance exams were over. After several days of making a scene, my sister was also exhausted. Having calmed down, she felt somewhat guilty and finally agreed today that she would no longer think about going to France. Dad kept staring at me through the rearview mirror. "Xiaoji, didn't you always want to study before? Why did you say you wanted to go to France last time?" That day my answer had a flaw, arousing Dad's suspicion. These past few days he's repeatedly asked me, and I've only had one answer. "Dad, I said I wanted to go because my sister wanted to go. Of course I want to study more. I'm preparing for the college entrance exam." Going back and forth with the same answer, Dad finally breathed a sigh of relief. When the car arrived at the school gate, we happened to run into my sister's best friend, who had also come by car. My sister's best friend's car is a luxury vehicle, making our dad's car seem quite shabby in comparison, which reignited my sister's desire to go to France just as she had given up on the idea. After getting out of the car, I immediately linked arms with my sister. She tried to shake me off impatiently, but I lowered my voice and said, "Sis, Uncle sent me a message." That one sentence instantly softened her attitude toward me. She was very anxious. "What did Uncle say? Is he angry and doesn't want to take us abroad anymore?" I knew it. It's all Dad's fault. Her eyes welled up as she spoke, but I smiled and said, "No, Uncle said he'd definitely save us tickets to France. As soon as Dad agrees and we get our passports, we can leave right away." My sister's gloomy face suddenly lit up again. She was excited for a moment, then suddenly shoved me away. "Chen Xiaoji, stay away from me. My friends all laugh at you for being a bookish nerd. If you stay this close, I'll be laughed at too." Then she ordered me, "You'd better send me Uncle's WeChat later. I'll talk to him myself. Do you hear me? watching my sister's smug back. I wanted to stab her 1,000 times, 10,000 times in my heart, but now wasn't the time to openly break things off. I had to wait until she left the country. I gave my uncle's WeChat to my sister, and as soon as class was over, she would hold her phone and stare at those photos in a daze. On top of that, my uncle kept urging her to hurry to the hostel for the agreed departure time, which made her even less focused on class. She didn't want to do her homework and even skipped exams. This went on for half a month, and even her friends and teachers noticed something was off. Perfect. Right at this moment, I secretly wrote an anonymous letter to report that someone had brought a phone. Soon, the school seized the opportunity to launch a thorough investigation into students who brought mobile phones. Before long, the phones of some rebellious students were confiscated. Unwilling to accept this, they exposed many others, including the sister who played with her phone in class every day. After the phones were collected, parents were notified to retrieve them, and the father was also lectured by the teacher. Seeing his sister in a terrible state, he decided to temporarily confiscate her phone until the college entrance exams were over. No matter how much my sister cried and pleaded, Dad refused to give her the phone. Maybe he thought that if he cut off her contact with her uncle, he could stop her from wanting to go to France. Dad, you really don't understand your eldest daughter. In my past life, I refused to go abroad many times, but my sister relentlessly bullied me at school and pressured me, just to make me give in and go on that trip with her. Later, I made the crazy move of tearing up my passport to make her back off a bit, but she still dared to drug me and tie me up in her car. My sister has always been someone who never gives up until she achieves her goal. As long as she still has her heart set on going abroad, she won't give up easily. 6. It's rare for Dad to have a social engagement on weekends, so after dinner, my sister, Mom, and I sat together in the living room watching TV, enjoying a moment of relaxation. During that time, I deliberately switched to the travel channel several times, which was full of beautiful scenes from overseas. Leaving my sister staring in awe, I pretended to sigh in admiration. So beautiful. The architecture and scenery abroad are truly unique, my sister murmured to herself. Yes, so beautiful. France must be just as lovely. Mom noticed my sister's longing and said softly, your dad is just worried about your safety abroad. How about we all go together after the college entrance exams? Yeah, sis, why not go after the exams? But Uncle said he's arranged a lot of activities for this trip, covering basically all the popular attractions, and he can even help take photos and videos. I intentionally or unintentionally hinted at the benefits my uncle had offered these past few days. Watching my sister's reaction shift from disappointment to resentment, I continued, if you can go this time, you might gain quite a few more followers. Sure enough, my sister couldn't sit still anymore and rushed into our mother's arms, bursting into tears. Our mother was heartbroken and accidentally let slip, actually, I don't understand why your dad is so afraid either. Lately he keeps telling me he's been reborn. It's so strange. Your uncle has always treated you well since childhood. How could he possibly be deceiving you? I couldn't help but laugh from the side. What rebirth? Dad must have read too many novels. Mom, you don't actually believe that, do you? If it were a rebirth, Dad should at least be able to win the lottery or something. My sister also chimed in with tears in her eyes. What rebirth? Dad just doesn't want me to go. He's just being mean. Hearing my sister and me, Mom, who was already skeptical, completely stopped believing Dad's words. She thought the idea of rebirth was utterly absurd. Seeing Mom soften, I immediately said, actually, my sister has already finished her art exams. As long as she comes back before the college entrance exam to take the cultural subjects, it's fine to go with Uncle once. Mom was a bit hesitant, but your dad, my sister broke down. Can we just stop worrying about Dad? I really want to go to France. Mom, this is a rare opportunity. With Dad earning just that little bit, when will we ever be able to travel to Europe? At best, we'd only manage short trips around the city, and we can't even afford a 5-star hotel. I brought up my uncle again. Uncle said he'll cover all the expenses for this trip. Dad really doesn't earn much, and there's not much money at home for luxuries, so it's no wonder my sister is so excited. Seeing Mom hesitating, I decisively suggested, if Dad is so worried, Mom should just go with sister. I can only take the college entrance exam anyway, so it's most important for me to stay home and review. Mom, you have annual leave, right? Just take your annual leave and go with sister, then Dad won't have to worry anymore. Sister was both crying and laughing, hugging Mom and begging her to agree. Mom happened to receive a phone call from Uncle. Sister, we're leaving next week. Why don't you go abroad with Xiaolin? It's a rare opportunity. don't give up such a good chance just because of a few words from your husband." Hearing my uncle say the same thing, Mom finally decided to personally accompany my sister on the trip abroad. Satisfied, I returned to my room and deleted the chat records with my uncle from this period. Yes, the idea of suggesting that Mom accompany my sister abroad was mine. 7. After Mom decided to accompany my sister abroad, the two of them began secretly taking the household register to expedite their passport applications, keeping it from Dad. I clearly told my uncle that unfortunately I needed to focus on my exam preparation, so I couldn't go on the trip with him this time. My uncle said he would take me on a self-driving tour after returning to our home country. Taking me on a self-driving tour. Does he still have the same intention of tricking me? On the day of the school's mock exam, my sister pretended to have a stomachache and stayed home to rest, while my mom urged my dad to take me to school. I know, today is the day they set off, to ensure they can go abroad smoothly. I definitely need to keep Dad occupied. I said the roads are prone to traffic jams, so I convinced Dad to switch to an electric scooter, and then deliberately suggested buying breakfast from a roadside stall. After arriving at the school gate, Dad was in a hurry to rush home to take my sister to the hospital for her illness. At that moment, I received a message from my mom saying they were on their way to the airport and asked me to find a way to stall Dad. My lips curled upward uncontrollably. I was really looking forward to the moment when my sister and Mom arrived in France and finally saw my uncle's true colors, letting them experience the despair I once felt. Unlike me, they willingly jumped into the trap. I was just about to make an excuse to ask Dad to buy me a bottle of water when suddenly I felt a sharp, wrenching pain in my lower abdomen. The sensation was all too real. I cried out in agony for my dad. Collapsing to the ground, hearing me, he walked over and asked what was wrong. By then, the pain was so intense that I couldn't speak. Beads of sweat the size of peas rolled down my forehead, and I pressed both hands hard against my stomach, trying to ease the agony. But Dad grew impatient. "What's wrong with you? Speak up. I still have to hurry back and take your sister to the hospital. My stomach hurts," I whispered, my voice barely audible, but Dad didn't believe it. Instead, he leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Chen Xiaoji, I know you're also a reincarnated person." My already pale face turned even paler. Dad was very pleased with his guess. "I was right, wasn't I? Let me tell you, I've been observing you for a long time. You keep encouraging your sister to go to France. You must be blaming us for not paying the ransom to save you back then, and now you want to use this to kill your sister. You're too vicious. I won't let you succeed." I trembled all over in pain, but upon hearing my father's words, I actually burst out laughing. "What are you laughing at?" Dad was a bit annoyed. I grabbed my father's collar, gritting my teeth in pain. "Yes, I've been reborn. I want Chen Xiaolin to die. Can you stop me?" Dad pushed me away angrily, and seeing the onlookers, he shouted loudly, "All right, stop staring. This kid doesn't want to take the exam and is faking illness here. Stop looking and disperse." After saying that, he immediately rode his bike home to find my sister. I was in so much pain that stars were dancing before my eyes, and just as I was about to pass out, my best friend and other classmates rushed over and carried me into the school infirmary. I was then taken to the hospital by a teacher. During that time, my phone kept ringing, but I didn't have the strength to answer it and eventually fell into unconsciousness. 8. I woke up in the hospital, and the person taking care of me was my aunt. The teacher called my dad, only to be told not to worry about whether I lived or died. He was on his way to the airport to stop his wife and eldest daughter. Left with no other choice, the teacher called the number listed in my file as my aunt's contact. My aunt didn't like my sister or my mom, but she was very fond of me, so, as soon as she got the call, she immediately stopped her meeting and came to see me. During that time, she kept trying to call my dad, but by then, he had already watched helplessly as my sister and mom's plane took off. Furious, he rushed straight to the hospital to hit me. "Chen Xiaoji, did you trick them into getting on the plane? You're truly vicious. They're your own family. How could you bear sending them to their deaths? Why did you even have to be born in the first place, causing nothing but trouble for us? I'll beat you to death." Dad roared at me like a vicious wolf before rushing over and grabbing me. My body hadn't recovered yet, and I was too weak to move. He yanked the needle in my hand hard, and it came right out, blood gushing all over my palm. "Auntie, doctor, help me," I screamed with a hoarse voice. Even though my voice was weak and my throat was full of a sweet, metallic taste, I still screamed desperately. I was afraid Dad would really beat me to death. How could I die before him? Soon, someone noticed the unusual situation in the ward, and my aunt rushed in with a group of doctors and nurses in tow. Seeing the blood on my hands and my swollen face, my aunt was so furious that she slapped my father twice across the face and then kicked him away. Male nurses and doctors from both sides immediately restrained my father, preventing him from moving, while the other nurses quickly stopped my bleeding. My aunt scolded him sharply, "Chen Hai, if you keep acting like this, do you believe I'll call the police right now and report you for abusing your daughter?" Hearing this, Dad's face turned pale. He knew that Auntie always meant what she said. In the end, the doctors and nurses pulled Dad out of the ward, asking him to calm down in the hallway outside. They even arranged for 2 security guards to patrol the floor, warning that if there were any further acts of violence, they would immediately call the police. After the ward returned to calm, I silently shed tears under Auntie's gentle gaze. After being reborn, even though I knew the reason I was killed, knew who the murderer was, and knew that my parents' favoritism led to my death, I didn't cry when I found out these things. All I felt in my heart was hatred and a desire for revenge, but one gentle glance from my aunt shattered the strength I had pretended to have. I'm just a child too. I've experienced life and death, endured inhuman torture, and was murdered by my own relatives on the filthy, stinking soil of a foreign land. I've suffered so much, yet no one to confide in. Aunt hugged me tenderly, whispering softly, "Your dad has gone crazy too. It's just your mom and sister going abroad for a trip. Why is he so anxious and angry that he hits you? What's wrong with him?" My tears suddenly stopped. "Mom and sister have already successfully gone abroad." "All right then, Dad, your nightmare has just begun." Since Dad is also a reincarnator, his emotions are so unstable. I'm sure that if Uncle does anything later, he'll definitely blame it on me. Living with him is dangerous. I wiped away my tears and begged my aunt to take me in. "Aunt, my dad is too biased. Recently he keeps saying he's a reincarnator. Mom even said he's mentally ill. I'm afraid to live with him anymore. Can I stay at your place? I just want to focus on my college entrance exams." "All right, you can stay at my place and concentrate on your exams. We'll deal with everything else after the exams are over." Aunt readily agreed, hugging me tightly and gently patting my back. In my previous life, after I died, my parents didn't shed many tears for me. Instead, they blamed me for being book smart but not clever enough, needlessly dragging my sister into the kidnapping with me. Only my aunt personally went to the border to retrieve my broken body, then hired someone to chant sutras for my soul's liberation, and chose a feng shui-rich burial site for me. In my revenge plan after rebirth, I didn't want to involve my aunt, but I was really afraid that Dad would go crazy and kill me. I can't die yet. None of them are dead. Why should I die first? 9. After being discharged from the hospital, I officially moved into my aunt's house and began studying alongside my cousin. My cousin was preparing for the postgraduate entrance exam, and she provided me with many of her own summarized notes from the college entrance examination. From time to time, she also tutored me with some advanced exercises. Gradually, I became immersed in my studies, temporarily forgetting about my mother and sister who were far away across the ocean. However, my aunt and cousin often browsed through their social media feeds, which were filled with beautiful scenery, architecture, and their bright, smiling faces in front of the camera. After finishing a set of exam papers, I finally took out my phone to check my mother and sister's social media updates. The latest photo my sister posted was from this morning, showing her playfully smiling at the camera in a trendy outfit, with the Louvre in the background. Soon, someone commented below, saying something seemed off about this Louvre. I clicked in and stared at it for a while. My cousin walked over, glanced at it, and said, "Is that Xiaolin? She went to take photos. I thought she went to France. Why is she using a green screen to replace the background instead of just going to the Louvre?" My cousin has been traveling all over the country with my aunt since she was little, and she knows Paris, France, like the back of her hand. I just realized the photo was fake. That means they were likely already kidnapped. Sure enough, 3 days after this post was made, Mom cut off contact with Dad. Dad immediately chose to call the police. The police learned that I had frequently contacted my uncle and asked me to assist in the investigation. I knew that if the phone records were recovered, I would be suspected of instigating my uncle to trick my mom and sister into going on a trip. Thinking of this, I took out the SIM card, lit some paper scraps with a lighter, and threw the card in to burn it together. Since they couldn't get any useful information from me, and considering I was a senior high school student preparing for the college entrance exam, the police didn't trouble me and even told me not to worry and to focus on my studies. With the college entrance exam just a month away, I temporarily put everything else aside and devoted myself entirely to exam preparation. In my previous life, I was drugged by my sister, forced into a car, and taken on a trip. Later, I was kidnapped by my uncle and died in northern Myanmar without even getting a chance to take the college entrance exam. My sister returned alive and crafted an inspirational image for herself, claiming she had traveled thousands of miles to find her missing younger sister but accidentally ended up in northern Myanmar. She was rehearsing how she would persuade me not to travel, and how she would risk her own life to save me. My older sister became a minor internet sensation by relying on the human blood bun incident involving me, and even missed the college entrance exam due to being deceived and kidnapped. However, considering her outstanding performance in the art exam and her difficult experiences, quite a few schools were actually willing to make an exception and admit her. Her life was bright and sunny, while I became an early ghost, dying in a foreign land. My hand gripping the pen gradually tightened, and I let out a long breath, trying harder to study and write. Living a second life, I will create my own beautiful future. 10. The night before the college entrance exam, my uncle called. Chen Hai, have 600,000 in cash ready by noon tomorrow to ransom someone, not a single cent less, or I'll cut off one of your daughter's fingers for every cent missing. Also, I know you called the police, but it's useless. If you dare to let the police come, just wait to collect the body. After receiving the call, Dad was completely devastated. With the huge ransom and the lives of his wife and daughter tormenting him, he hesitated for a moment, then called his aunt to borrow money. Sister, lend me some money. I've heard something about Xiaolin and her mom. Auntie was also very worried, but even more cautious. Have you contacted the police? Are you sure they'll release her once they receive the money? Dad was speechless, but quickly added, I have my ways, just lend me the money. I guess Dad would definitely go to the Chamber of Commerce people. In his previous life, he had negotiated through the chamber and eventually redeemed my sister for 500,000. This time, he probably wanted to do the same thing, but I just didn't know whether he was trying to save my sister or my mom. On the day of the college entrance exam, my aunt and cousin personally escorted me to the examination hall, telling me all the way to relax and keep a normal mindset. My heart was filled with joy. It turned out that someone still cared about me so much. I smiled as I got out of the car, and just as I was about to walk into the school gate, my dad suddenly jumped out from the side and tackled me to the ground. He slapped me hard and shouted at me to go save my sister. I instinctively resisted, kicking wildly with both hands and feet, knocking my frenzied father to the ground. The surrounding students, parents, security guards, and patrolling traffic police all stepped in front of me, shouting at my father to calm down. My aunt and cousin, who hadn't gone far, rushed over anxiously and helped me up. Some kind-hearted parents even handed me band-aids and alcohol to treat the scratches on my face. Surrounded by people, Dad immediately shouted, Chen Xiaoji, your sister and mom are still being held in northern Myanmar. If you agree to go with me to pay the ransom, they can be saved. Are you really going to stand by and let them die? Hearing this, everyone was stunned, momentarily taken aback by the shocking news. Dad continued shouting, your uncle said you must go pay the ransom, otherwise, they won't agree to release them. Right now, come with me to the border to cooperate with the police and pay the ransom. Did you hear that? You can't be so heartless. Your sister and mom are the ones who got kidnapped. People around started murmuring, and I was so furious that my whole body trembled, my voice becoming unnaturally sharp. Dad, I'm just a minor. How could the police allow a minor to pay the ransom? Even if you're biased, you can't expect me to go and die for this. I'm just a student. My sister and mom voluntarily went on that trip with uncle. You can't blame me for this. Dad rudely cut me off and rushed over to grab me. You have to come with me today. You must pay the ransom to get your sister back. What are you doing? With a loud shout, the traffic police and some concerned passers-by directly restrained my father's arms. While he was frantically struggling, the traffic police immediately used grappling techniques to pin him to the ground and had bystanders call the police right away. The school bell rang, and my aunt along with a group of parents reminded us to hurry up and go take the exam. Many unfamiliar classmates greeted me, deliberately letting me go first while shielding me behind them, afraid that my insane father would get up again and hit me. Thus, I was escorted into the teaching building smoothly, and under the solemn and heavy chimes, I began my college entrance exam. 11. Due to my father's crazy behavior at the entrance of the examination room, the security forces were dispatched to patrol and assist in that area for the following few days. My aunt and cousin still personally saw me off and waited at the entrance, ready to pick me up and take me home after the exam ended. During this period, Dad deliberately concealed the threatening calls from Uncle from the police and stubbornly had the Chamber of Commerce people take him to the border to negotiate the deal. He took the 600,000 yuan in cash borrowed from Aunt and demanded that Uncle release the hostages immediately. Unexpectedly, Uncle sneered and asked him who he wanted to save. Dad froze in place. The scene overlapped with that of his previous life, where the kidnapper asked him, "Who do you want to save with 600,000 yuan in cash?" At this moment, he hesitated. After all, one was his beloved eldest daughter, the other his wife of decades. Unlike me, the youngest daughter he never expected to be born. It's hard to choose, isn't it? The college entrance exam ended smoothly, and I returned home with my aunt to pack my things. My aunt thought that, given my father's mental state, it wasn't suitable for me to go back and live there. As soon as I walked in the door, I saw my mother sitting on the sofa, staring blankly. Her whole body was covered in bruises, and her face was pale. When she saw me come in, she both cried and laughed. "Why didn't you go to France? Why didn't you go with them? You should have been sent away, my Xiaolin, my poor child." I slowly walked up to my mother, crouched down, and whispered, "Mom, am I not your child?" Her tears suddenly stopped, and she looked at me in surprise. I continued, "If my sister doesn't go, will you and Dad send me instead? I've said it many times. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to." "Did you listen, my sister? She's been spoiled by you and Dad. You two are the ones who caused her death." I sneered coldly into my mother's ear, ignoring her wide-eyed stare. I quickly packed my things and left. That evening, my aunt received a phone call. She was somewhat incredulous. "What did you say?" "My brother killed my sister-in-law." After I left, my mother was tormented by my words to the point of a mental breakdown. Seeing my father's troubled face, she began to believe that all of this happened because he didn't stop it, just as my sister had once blamed me. She lunged at my father, punching and kicking him. "Why didn't you stop, Xiaolin? Why didn't you stop us from going abroad? It's all your fault." The anger in my father's heart was ignited. With bloodshot eyes, he rushed to the kitchen, grabbed a kitchen knife, and slashed straight at my mother. Yes, my father killed my mother. Sitting in the defendant's seat, Dad showed a relieved smile. If it weren't for this bitch not listening, Xiaolin wouldn't have gone abroad, wouldn't have taken that trip, and she wouldn't have been kidnapped or gotten into trouble. Xiaolin's suffering was all caused by this bitch, all because of this bitch, right? And you, it's all your fault, Chen Xiaoji. My crazed father suddenly shouted at me, and the bailiff immediately pinned him to the ground. While the judge announced a recess, I received a video from my uncle on my phone. In it, my sister was forced to change into sexy clothes, walking the line in a gray area, live streaming to lure others into downloading gambling games. Isn't this exactly what she wanted? To become a popular streamer? Chen Xiaoji, why isn't your dad replying to messages? If your family wants to save your sister, prepare 800,000 yuan immediately. I smiled. "Uncle, my dad killed my mom, and our family is temporarily out of money." Uncle's WeChat ID showed, typing, but after a long while, he still didn't reply. He probably never expected that his own sister would die. I handed over all the information about my uncle to the police and then reminded the prosecutor that my dad might use mental illness as an excuse to escape legal punishment, but the cruel act of killing my mom was entirely intentional. I hoped the law could be used to punish my criminal dad. Later, I was admitted to my dream university. On the day I received the acceptance letter, my father was sentenced to life imprisonment for intentional homicide. The police lured out my uncle's WeChat account and the criminal organization behind it by planting an undercover agent. Thinking he had hooked a big fish, my uncle eagerly returned to the country, only to be arrested the moment he set foot on the homeland. My sister remains trapped in the sunless depths of northern Myanmar. Seeing her in such a wretched state must have broken my father's heart. He spent 600,000 yuan to demand her release, but my uncle pulled a bait-and switch and sent back my mother instead. Now, my sister's life is going to rot and stink in northern Myanmar, and my wonderful life is just getting started. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. The Shen family had only one male heir for 7 generations, and Shen Zhao was frail and unlikely to have children. Shen's father spent a fortune to marry me as his daughter-in-law, all because I was a rare, blessed womb. After marriage, Shen Zhao's health improved, and I became pregnant without any issues. Shen's father was overjoyed and promised me 10% of the company's shares. On the night of the celebration banquet, Shen Zhao, fueled by alcohol, kicked me in the stomach. "Bitch," he spat with hatred in his eyes, "if it weren't for your scheming, How could Su Ruohang have married the wrong man and been beaten to death? I collapsed in a pool of blood, my eyes wide open in death. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Shen's father came to propose marriage. Looking at the elegant and composed Shen Nanlang before me, I smiled lightly and spoke, "Mr. Shen, rather than pinning your hopes on your sickly son to carry on the family line, how about I marry you and give you a few healthy heirs?" A sharp pain exploded in my abdomen, like a dagger churning wildly inside me. I curled up on the expensive Persian rug in the Shen family villa, desperately shielding my stomach with both hands. But I couldn't block the relentless kicks. "Bitch, it's all your fault," Shen Zhao's drunken voice echoed from above, followed by another wave of excruciating pain. Blood gushed out from beneath me, staining the light-colored carpet red. I could feel life slowly slipping away, along with the tiny 3-month-old life inside my womb. "If it weren't for you flaunting and colluding with others to claim you were a fertility saint, my father wouldn't have forced me to marry you, an older woman, and Su Ruohang wouldn't have married the wrong person and ended up being beaten to death." Shen Zhao's voice was filled with twisted hatred. My vision began to blur, and my consciousness gradually scattered. "So that's how it is, so he has always hated me." The Shen family had only one male heir for 7 generations, and Shen Zhao had been frail and sickly since childhood, with a constitution that made it difficult to conceive. The Shen family searched everywhere for a woman with good fertility, until they found me, what doctors called a naturally blessed womb. The Shen family welcomed me with a high bride price, and after Shen Zhao married me, his health indeed gradually improved, and I successfully became pregnant. Shen Nanlang, Shen Zhao's father, was overjoyed and even promised to give me 10% of the company's shares. Yet in Shen Zhao's eyes, all of this became my sin. I opened my mouth, wanting to say something, but only spat out a mouthful of blood. Darkness surged like a tide, and in my final moments of consciousness, I swore that if there was a next life, man, Mr. Shen has already arrived. Why are you still spacing out? My mother's voice pulled me back from the chaos. I suddenly opened my eyes and found myself sitting in the living room at home, with a cup of steaming tea in front of me. The sunlight outside the window was bright, shining on my intact body. "Is this, a year ago, Mr. Shen is here this time to propose marriage on behalf of his son, Shen Zhao," my mother whispered to me, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "The Shen family. Now that's a true wealthy household." My heart raced wildly, and my fingers unconsciously brushed over my flat abdomen. "I've been reborn. I've truly been reborn. I've returned to the day Shen Nanlang first came to propose marriage." Looking up at the door, a tall and upright middle-aged man was stepping inside. Shen Nanlang, 45 years old, yet well-maintained, with every gesture exuding the charm of a mature man. He wore a well-tailored dark gray suit, with deep-set features and sharp yet gentle eyes. "Miss Jiang, I've long heard of you," he nodded to me, his voice deep and pleasant. In my previous life, I shyly lowered my head and accepted the arrangement to marry Shen Zhao with a heart full of joy, but now, I looked directly at this man who dominates the business world and suddenly flash a bright smile. "Mr. Shen, please have a seat." I gestured gracefully, waiting for him to sit before meeting his eyes. "I heard your son is in poor health, and the Shen family urgently needs an heir." Shen Nanlang slightly furrows his brow, seemingly taken aback by my directness. "My son indeed needs a wife with good fortune." I chuckled softly, taking a sip of my tea. "Mr. Shen, instead of pinning your hopes for carrying on the family line on your sickly son," I deliberately paused, looking into his eyes, "why not let me marry you and bear you several sons?" With a clatter, the teapot in my mother's hands fell to the ground. Shen Nanlang's expression froze, his eyes flickering with shock, disbelief, and then deep contemplation. I maintained a smile, knowing my words were like a bomb detonating in the heart of this wealthy family patriarch, whose traditional beliefs ran deep. Memories from my past life told me that Shen Nanlang had remained unmarried for years after losing his spouse, not because he lacked desire, but to uphold the family's image. And at this moment, I could see the flames gradually igniting in his eyes, a longing for heirs, a yearning for youthful vitality, and a stirring of interest in my bold proposal. "Miss Jiang, are you serious about this?" His voice was slightly hoarse. "I am 28 years old and in good health. The doctor said I have a rare, highly fertile constitution," I said frankly. "Rather than marrying someone who might be completely infertile and sickly, I would rather become your wife and bear you a healthy heir." Shen Nanlang's eyes lit up as he scrutinized me carefully, as if appraising a precious collection piece. I knew I had the upper hand. In my previous life, the doctor said that My constitution not only made it easy for me to conceive but also nourished my partner, surpassing any tonic, for Shen Nanlang, who longed for offspring and whose health was gradually declining. This was an irresistible temptation. "Dad, what are you doing?" An angry voice came from the doorway. I turned to look and saw Shen Zhao standing at the door, his face pale and his eyes filled with disbelief. He was even thinner than I remembered, looking as if a gust of wind could knock him over. How could I have thought such a man was worth entrusting my life to in my past life? "She is my fiancée." Shen Zhao rushed in but was frozen in place by a single glance from Shen Nanlang. "From today onward, she is your mother." Shen Nanlang's voice left no room for doubt. "Miss Jiang is right. What the Shen family needs is healthy offspring." I watched Shen Zhao's twisted expression, feeling a surge of satisfaction in my heart. The game has only just begun. "Shen Zhao, the pain you inflicted on me in my past life, I will repay 100-fold in this one." That afternoon, Shen Nanlang and I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau. The moment I held the marriage certificate in my hand, I knew the gears of fate had already turned in a completely different direction. On the first day I moved into the Shen family villa, I called the butler to the study. Butler Lin, in his early 50s, had worked for the Shen family for nearly 20 years, and his gaze held a barely noticeable hint of contempt. In my previous life, when I married Shen Zhao, he had caused me no small amount of trouble. "Housekeeper Lin, starting today, all staff schedules and payrolls are to be submitted to me for review every Monday." I sat in the leather swivel chair, lightly tapping the desk with my fingertips. "Additionally, compile the detailed household expenses for the past 6 months. I want to review them." Housekeeper Lin's brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. "Madam, I have always been in charge of these matters." The master never concerned himself with such trivialities. I smiled faintly. "Now I am the one managing the household. Is there a problem?" I wouldn't dare. He lowered his head, but I saw the corner of his mouth twitch. "By the way," I added as he turned to leave, "change the bed sheets in the master bedroom to silk. Mr. Shen prefers them." Butler Lin's back stiffened slightly, and he bowed his head in acknowledgement. I knew this news would spread like wildfire through the entire Shen household. The new mistress not only held authority but had already shared a bed with the master. After the butler left, I looked around the study. In my previous life, I was rarely allowed to enter here, but now it had become the center of my power. I turned on the computer and pulled up the Shen family's household management system. The password hadn't changed. It was still Shen Zhao's birthday, just like in my past life. Despite Shen Nanlang's stern exterior, he still cherished his only son deep down. The data on the screen made me raise an eyebrow. The flour expenses alone for just 1 month amounted to 50,000, not to mention the expensive wines and ingredients. In my previous life, I thought the Shen family was just that extravagant, but now I realized someone was lining their own pockets. As I was recording the suspicious accounts, the door suddenly swung open. Shen Zhao stood at the door, his expression dark. "Something wrong?" I didn't look up, continuing to check the screen. "Do you think marrying my dad gives you free rein to do whatever you want in the Shen family?" His voice was low, carrying a threat. Only then did I look up at him. "Shen Zhao, knocking is the most basic courtesy. Besides, you should call me Mom, or at least Auntie." His face instantly turned ashen as he strode to the table, placing both hands on the surface. "Stop dreaming. You're nothing but a purchased breeding machine." I calmly met his gaze. "And what are you? A useless man who can't even father a child." Shen Zhao's pupils contracted sharply, and he raised his right hand as if to strike. Remained motionless, merely raising my voice. "Mr. Shen, your son is about to hit your wife." Shen Zhao's hand froze midair as he turned to look at the doorway. Shen Nanlang stood there, his face dark and terrifying. "Get out," he said to Shen Zhao, his voice as cold as ice. Shen Zhao withdrew his hand, gritting his teeth. "Dad, she's investigating our family's accounts. She definitely has ulterior motives. I had it checked." Shen Nanlang walked in and stood beside me. "Your mother is now in charge of the household. Is there a problem?" "Mother?" Shen Zhao laughed sharply. "She's only 3 years older than me." Shen Nanlang's eyes turned sharp. "Age is not an issue. She is my lawfully wedded wife, and that makes her your mother. If I hear you disrespect her again, I'll freeze your credit card." Shen Zhao opened his mouth but ultimately said nothing, slamming the door as he left. "Don't mind him." Shen Nanlang turned to me. "He's been spoiled." I smiled. "It's fine. I'll be a good stepmother, especially when this good stepmother can push him into the fire." I added silently. Shen Nanlang nodded in satisfaction, then asked, "What did you find in the accounts?" I pulled up a few abnormal data points. "Here, and here." the expenditures are significantly higher than the market price. Also, I pointed at the screen, there were 3 large purchases last month. But the household inventory records don't match. Shen Nanlang's eyes gradually turned cold. Butler Lin, let's not alert the enemy just yet, I said softly. I'll continue investigating and gather solid evidence. He looked at me with appreciation. You're more capable than I imagined. Just doing my duty, I said modestly, then changed the subject. By the way, I looked into the Su family's background. Su Ruoheng is 24 years old, just returned from studying in the UK, comes from a clean family background, and marrying into the Su group would also benefit the Shen family. Shen Nanlang pondered thoughtfully. You really care a lot about Shen Zhao's marriage, of course, I said with a virtuous smile. Although he doesn't acknowledge me as his mother, I've always regarded him as my son. Shen Nanlang was moved and took my hand. It's rare to see such sincerity. I'll contact the Su family to arrange a meeting. Watching his retreating figure, a cold smile curled at the corner of my mouth. In my past life, Su Ruoheng was the white moonlight in Shen Zhao's heart, but this young lady was arrogant and willful, looking down the most on weak and incompetent men. Marrying such a woman to Shen Zhao would be more satisfying than any revenge. 3. At dinner time, I changed into a dark green cheongsam, tied up my hair, and put on the jade earrings Shen Nanlang had given me. In the mirror, I looked dignified and elegant, completely embodying the demeanor of a wealthy matriarch. In the dining room, several close relatives of the Shen family had already taken their seats. Shen Zhao sat in the lower seat, a flicker of disgust flashing in his eyes when he saw me. I paid no attention and walked straight to the seat beside Shen Nanlang, the one that only Shen Zhao's mother could occupy in my past life. I heard the lady is checking the accounts. Shen Zhao's aunt, Shenli, spoke with a sarcastic tone. In such a hurry to seize power as soon as you step through the door. I leisurely scooped a spoonful of soup. Auntie, you jest, it's a wife's duty to share her husband's burdens. I looked at Shen Nanlang. Right, dear. Shen Nanlang nodded. Man is very capable and has discovered some issues. I will handle this matter. Shen Li's expression changed slightly, and she dared not say more. By the way, I said as if suddenly remembering something, turning to Shen Zhao, I have discussed your marriage with your father. Miss Su will be visiting this weekend, so prepare yourself well. Shen Zhao's fork clattered onto the plate. What? Miss Su Ruoheng, haven't you always admired her? I feigned surprise. Could I have remembered wrong? Shen Zhao's expression was a sight to behold. First shock, then doubt, and finally a twisted sort of delight. You want me and Ruoheng too? The Su family is a perfect match, and Miss Su is both talented and beautiful. Shen Nanlang chimed in. Your mother's suggestion is an excellent one. At the mention of mother, Shen Zhao's face darkened again, but the name Su Ruoheng clearly left him unable to lash out. He lowered his head to eat, but the tips of his ears turned red. I took small bites of the foie gras, sneering inwardly. Just wait, Shen Zhao, your dream will soon turn into a nightmare. The weekend arrived quickly. Su Ruoheng came to visit, accompanied by his parents. She was dressed in a designer dress, wearing 10-centimeter high heels, with makeup so exquisite it looked like she was ready to walk the red carpet. Hello, Uncle Shen, she called out sweetly as soon as she entered, then paused noticeably when she saw me. And this is my wife, Jiang Man. Shen Nanlang introduced. Man, this is Miss Su Ruoheng. I smiled and nodded. Miss Su is indeed as beautiful as the rumors say. Su Ruoheng forced a smile, but his gaze kept drifting toward Shen Zhao. Shen Zhao had dressed up specially today, but his pale complexion and frail figure paled in comparison to the tall and imposing Shen Nanlang. During the luncheon, Su Ruoheng's parents showed great enthusiasm for the marriage proposal. Although the Su family was also considered wealthy, it still fell short compared to the Shen family. Ruoheng has been pampered since childhood, but she has a kind heart. Mrs. Su said with a smile. She and Shen Zhao are about the same age, so they're sure to get along well. I noticed that Su Ruoheng's smile seemed a bit forced when Shen Zhao attentively poured wine for her. She frowned slightly and subtly shifted her body to the side. What did Miss Su study in the UK? I asked at an opportune moment. Art history, she replied, her tone filled with pride. I particularly love Victorian-era paintings. What a coincidence. Shen Zhao is also fond of art, I said with a smile. He has quite a collection of famous painting reproductions, right, Shen Zhao? Shen Zhao was taken aback for a moment, then quickly nodded. Yes, I especially like that, Mona Lisa. Su Ruoheng's mouth twitched slightly. That's from the Renaissance period. By Da Vinci, the atmosphere became awkward for a moment. Shen Zhao flushed red, while the disdain in Su Ruoheng's eyes grew even more apparent. After the luncheon, while the elders were chatting, I deliberately steered Su Ruoheng and Shen Zhao toward the garden for a stroll. Through the floor-to-ceiling window, I saw Su Ruoheng walking ahead with his arms crossed, while Shen Zhao followed closely behind, looking every bit like a subordinate. It seems they're getting along quite well, Shen Nanlang remarked with satisfaction. I smiled slightly. Yes. They are a perfect match. A month later, Shen Zhao and Su Ruoheng's engagement ceremony was grandly held. As the hostess of the Shen family, I handled everything, from venue arrangements to the guest list, down to the smallest detail. Shen Nanlang relied on me more and more, even publicly referring to me as his capable and virtuous wife. At the engagement banquet, Shen Zhao wore a custom-tailored suit, yet he still couldn't carry off that upright posture. Su Ruoheng, dressed in a white gown, was stunningly beautiful, but the reluctance in her eyes was already impossible to hide. Congratulations, Shen Zhao. His cousin Shen Ming patted him on the shoulder, winking and making faces. Su Ruoheng is famously fiery-tempered. Can you handle her? Shen Zhao forced a smile. Ruoruo is very gentle. Is that so? Shen Ming gestured with his chin toward a spot not far away. Then why has she been chatting so happily with that model all this time? Following his gaze, I saw Su Ruoheng laughing and talking animatedly with a tall, handsome young man, occasionally placing her hand on his arm. Shen Zhao's expression instantly darkened. I'm going to check it out, he said through gritted teeth. I quietly followed, hiding behind a pillar to observe. Shen Zhao walked over to Su Ruoheng and whispered something in a low voice. Su Ruoheng frowned. What's wrong with me chatting with a friend? Is it any of your business? But today is our engagement day. Shen Zhao's voice carried a plea. So what? Su Ruoheng sneered. Do you want me to kneel down and thank you for your great favor? She deliberately raised her voice. If it weren't for my father forcing me, who would want to marry a sickly person like you? Shen Zhao felt as if struck by lightning, standing frozen in place. Su Ruoheng walked away arm in arm with the model. I appeared at just the right moment, pretending to have just passed by. Shen Zhao, what's wrong? You look so pale. He suddenly turned to me, his eyes filled with resentment. Are you satisfied? This is the wonderful marriage you found for me. I looked innocent. What's wrong? Doesn't Miss Su like you very much? Like, Shen Zhao sneered. She looks down on me completely. It's all because of you. You did it on purpose. Shen Zhao. Shen Nanlang's voice came from behind. Mind your manners. Shen Zhao closed his mouth, but the fury in his eyes was almost ready to burst out. I held on to Shen Nanlang's arm and said softly, the child might be too nervous. After all, it's the first time getting engaged. Shen Nanlang patted my hand and said, you're always so understanding. That evening, the Shen family held a small family banquet to celebrate the engagement. Shen Zhao excused himself from attending, claiming he wasn't feeling well. Su Ruoheng did show up, but she was absent-minded the whole time, constantly checking her phone. I heard Shen Zhao has always been in poor health. Su Ruoheng suddenly asked during the meal, what exactly is the issue? The dining table fell silent. Shen Nanlang set down his wine glass. He's just a bit frail. He just needs some proper rest and care. Is that so? Su Ruoheng raised an eyebrow. Then why did my friend say he has a long-term medical record at Renhe Hospital, and that she suddenly stopped, as if realizing she had said too much. Shen Nanlang's eyes sharpened. Who is your friend? Su Ruoheng was somewhat flustered. Just a friend who studies medicine. I stepped in at the right moment. Miss Su is also concerned about Shen Zhao. Here, try this lobster. It was airlifted from Australia this morning. After the dinner, Shen Nanlang called me into the study. Su Ruoheng is not simple. She's investigating Shen Zhao. It's normal for young people to get to know each other before marriage. I poured him a cup of tea. Shen Nanlang shook his head. It's not that simple. I suspect she has ulterior motives. He pondered for a moment, but what's done is done. The engagement cannot be called off. The Shen family can't afford to lose face. I secretly rejoiced. This is exactly what I wanted. A marriage filled with suspicion and resentment. By the way, Shen Nanlang suddenly changed the subject. How have you been feeling lately? Any unusual reactions? I knew what he was asking. Since we got married, we've hardly taken any contraceptive measures. In my previous life, I became pregnant just 3 months after marrying Shen Zhao, so it should be about the same this time. No signs yet. I touched my flat abdomen, but the doctor said my body is very prone to pregnancy, so it should be soon. A glimmer of anticipation flashed in Shen Nanlang's eyes. if you need any supplements, just say the word, and I'll have them prepared. You're so good to me." I leaned on his shoulder, hiding the coldness in my eyes. Early the next morning, I deliberately bumped into Shen Zhao as he was getting up. He had 2 large dark circles under his eyes, clearly having not slept all night. "Shen Zhao, why didn't you come for dinner last night?" I asked with concern. "Are you feeling unwell?" He looked at me coldly. "Stop pretending, I know you planned all of this." I blinked. "Design what? She doesn't want to marry me at all," he hissed in a low voice. "You knew all along, didn't you?" I sighed. "Shen Zhao, marriage is a matter of parental orders and matchmakers' words. Miss Su might not be used to it for now, but feelings can be cultivated." I deliberately paused. "Or do you wish to marry a wife 17 years younger than yourself, just like your father?" Shen Zhao's face turned ashen, his fists clenched so tightly they creaked. "One day, I'll make you regret this, Jiang Man. Watch your tone, son," I said with a smile. "Don't forget, I'm your mother now." Watching his furious retreating figure, I felt quite pleased. "This is just the beginning, Shen Zhao. The pain you inflicted on me in my past life, I will return it to you bit by bit." Back in the bedroom, I stood in front of the full-length mirror and gently touched my abdomen. Soon, there will be good news. When that time comes, Shen Zhao's position in the Shen family will plummet, and my revenge plan can truly begin. For the morning sunlight filtered through the sheer curtains into the bedroom. I opened my eyes to find Shen Nanlang already up beside me. Reaching for the thermometer on the nightstand, I habitually began monitoring my basal body temperature, a key indicator for pregnancy preparation. The thermometer reads 36.7 degrees, 3 degrees higher than yesterday. The corners of my mouth lift unconsciously, based on my past life experience. This is a sign that ovulation is approaching. Rolling out of bed, I take out the prenatal nutrition pills from the drawer and swallow them with warm water. In the mirror, my complexion is rosy, my skin smooth. My 28-year-old body is at the prime age for childbearing. I gently caress my flat stomach, imagining the new life that will soon grow within. In my previous life, I was killed by Shen Zhao after bearing only one child. In this life, I will make the Shen family change completely. My phone vibrates. A message from the private detective. Target's recent activity records and medical files have been obtained. Encrypted data has been sent to your secure email. I smile faintly, lock the bathroom door, and open my laptop. The file package sent by the detective contains Shen Zhao's recent travel records, call logs, and, what I was most concerned about, his complete medical records from Renha Hospital. The medical records were filled with dense professional terminology, but a few key phrases jumped out: oligospermia, low sperm motility, congenital physical weakness. Flipping to the end, the doctor's conclusion was particularly glaring: natural conception probability below 5%, assisted reproductive technology recommended. I sneered coldly, continuing to browse the information sent by the detective. Shen Zhao's recent call records caught my attention. One number appeared frequently, mostly late at night. I noted down the number and sent it to another contact. Find out who owns this number, the sooner the better. Just as I closed my laptop, there was a knock at the door. "Madam, breakfast is ready." It was the voice of the maid. "Xiao He, got it, I'll be right down." In the dining room, Shen Nanlang was reading a financial newspaper, with black coffee and whole wheat toast in front of him. Seeing me come in, he put down the newspaper. "Did you sleep well?" "Very well." I walked over to him and gave him a light kiss on the cheek. This gesture had become a habit, even though it was initially just for the servants to see. Shen Nanlang handed me a document. "Take a look at this." I opened the file. It was information about a medical equipment company that the Shen Group planned to acquire. In my previous life, this acquisition deal failed because the other party concealed patent disputes, causing the Shen family to lose tens of millions. "There's a problem." I pointed at the patent list. "The patent for this core product expires next year, and I've heard there's an ongoing infringement lawsuit." Shen Nanlang raised an eyebrow. "How do you know that?" "I have a college classmate who works at that company." I casually made up an excuse. "The acquisition price should be reduced by at least 30%, and we need to include a liability exemption clause for the patent disputes." Shen Nanlang nodded thoughtfully. "I'll have the legal department reassess it." He looked at me with a hint of admiration in his eyes. "You always manage to surprise me." I smiled without saying a word. "This is just the beginning, Shen Nanlang. In my previous life, I was constantly influenced by Shen Zhao and became thoroughly familiar with the operations of the Shen Group. In this life, this knowledge will become my sharp weapon to establish myself in the Shen family." Shen Zhao staggered into the dining room, His face as pale as a ghost, he had 2 large dark circles under his eyes and was still wearing yesterday's clothes, which were crumpled as if he had slept on the sofa. Staying up late again, Shen Nanlang frowned. Shen Zhao didn't answer, walking straight to the coffee machine and pouring himself a full cup of black coffee. "Where's Miss Su?" I asked deliberately. "Why didn't she come for breakfast?" Shen Zhao's hand trembled, spilling coffee on it, yet he seemed not to feel the burn. "What's it to you, Shen Zhao?" Shen Nanlang shouted sternly. "Apologize to your mother." "She is not my mother." Shen Zhao turned around abruptly, slamming the coffee cup on the table with a loud thud. "You married a woman only 3 years older than me. Don't you find that disgusting?" The servants in the dining room all lowered their heads, pretending not to hear. Shen Nanlang's face darkened with a terrifying intensity as he slowly stood up. "Come to my study, now." Shen Zhao gave me a provocative look before following my father and leaving. I leisurely spread jam on my toast, but my ears perked up to listen to the commotion upstairs. Soon, faint sounds of angry shouts and things being thrown could be heard. 20 minutes later, Shen Zhao stormed out of the study, slamming the door behind him. When Shen Nanlang came downstairs, his expression had returned to calm, but the veins on his temples betrayed his anger. "He needs to reflect on his actions," Shen Nanlang said coldly. "I've suspended his credit card for 3 months. I handed him a freshly brewed cup of coffee. "He's still young and doesn't understand things yet." 25 is still young. Shen Nanlang shook his head. "He's been spoiled by his mother." I didn't respond. In her previous life, Shen Zhao's mother passed away early, and Shen Nanlang never remarried, spoiling his only son to the heavens until my appearance broke that balance. "By the way," Shen Nanlang changed the subject, "there's a charity banquet tonight. Will you accompany me?" "It is an honor," I said with a smile. In my past life, I was never brought to such occasions. Shen Zhao always attended alone, using the excuse that I was of humble origins and didn't understand the rules. In the afternoon, as I was selecting an evening gown in the dressing room, my phone rang. It was a reply from the number inquiry. "The number belongs to Lin Jifeng, vice president of Shen Group, who is closely connected to the target." Lin Jifeng. I narrowed my eyes. In my past life, he was Shen Zhao's trusted aide and later became his accomplice in harming me. I never expected their collusion to have started so early. In the evening, I wore a wine-red fishtail gown and put on the diamond necklace Shen Nanlang had given me. The reflection in the mirror was radiant, with no trace of my once ordinary origins. "Beautiful." Shen Nanlang stood at the doorway, a flash of admiration in his eyes. I took his arm as we descended the stairs, just in time to run into Su Ruoheng, who had just returned home. She was dressed in a crop top and hot pants, clearly in clubbing attire, and visibly paused for a moment when she saw us. "Are you going out, Miss Su?" I asked gently. "I have plans with a friend," she said nonchalantly, though her eyes kept drifting toward Shen Nanlang. I noticed Shen Nanlang frowning slightly. "Where's Shen Zhao?" "Who knows?" Su Ruoheng shrugged, probably drowning his sorrows at some bar. She jingled her car keys. "I won't disturb you two any longer," watching her sway her hips as she walked away. A slight smile touched the corner of my mouth. It seemed this loving, engaged couple was leading quite an exciting life. The charity gala was held at the Shangri-La Hotel, and the attendees were mostly prominent figures from the business world. As soon as Shen Nanlang entered the venue, he became the center of attention, with people constantly coming over to greet him, and as Mrs. Shen, I naturally received unprecedented attention as well. "So this is Mrs. Shen, indeed, young and beautiful." A woman adorned with jewels looked me over. "I heard you have a special constitution." I maintained my smile. "You flatter me, Mrs. Li." Mr. Shen and I simply met at the right time. "The right time," she smiled meaningfully. "The Shen family has had only one male heir for 7 generations, and Shen Zhao's health isn't great. Chairman Shen must be getting anxious." I pretended not to catch the sting in her words. "Speaking of Shen Zhao, his wedding with Miss Su is set for next month. I hope you'll honor us with your presence." Her expression stiffened for a moment, clearly not expecting me to be so direct. Shen Nanlang interjected at the right moment. Man cares a lot about Shen Zhao, even personally handling the wedding arrangements." Several of the executives around exchanged glances, and their attitude toward me noticeably became more respectful. It seems Shen Nanlang's public statement had an effect. The dinner was halfway through when I excused myself to freshen up my makeup and went to the restroom. As soon as I stepped out of the banquet hall, I spotted a familiar figure, Lin Jifeng, hiding in a corner, making a phone call. "Don't worry, I've already calmed Shen Zhao down." He lowered his voice. "No matter how much Shen Nanlang dotes on that woman, it's useless as long as Shenjiao remains the sole heir. I quietly retreated back around the corner and didn't come out until he had left. It seems Shenjiao and his confidant are already plotting in secret. In my past life, they gradually stripped Shen Nanlang of his power step by step and ultimately caused my death. In this life, I will repay them double. On the way home, Shen Nanlang received a call from the company saying there was new progress in the acquisition case. After hanging up, he rarely showed a smile. The other party agreed to lower the price by 35% and also accepted the exemption clause. Man, you've made a great contribution. I just mentioned it casually, I said modestly. No, you have a good business sense. Shen Nanlang looked at me seriously. Starting tomorrow, come to the company with me. I want to hear your thoughts on a few projects. This was exactly what I wanted, more opportunities to get involved in the core business of the Shen family. It is my great honor, I said softly. For the next 2 weeks, I went to the company with Shen Nanlang every day, sat in on meetings, read documents, and gradually gained a clear understanding of the operational model of the Shen Group. At the same time, the private detective kept sending me the latest updates on Shenjiao and Su Ruoheng. After Shenjiao's credit card was suspended, he began meeting frequently with Lin Jifeng. Su Ruoheng, on the other hand, was photographed entering and leaving high-end clubs with different men, including that model friend. The most dramatic part was when the detective captured Shenjiao waiting outside the hotel for 3 hours, only to see Su Ruoheng come out with another man in his arms. The expression on Shenjiao's face in the photo could only be described as utter despair. I carefully stored these materials, waiting for the perfect moment to use them. Right now, there's something more important. My ovulation period has arrived. That night, I deliberately changed into the silk nightgown I had bought not long ago and sprayed the perfume Shen Nanlang likes the most. When he pushed open the bedroom door, he clearly paused for a moment. What's the special occasion today? He asked, his gaze lingering on me. I walked up to him and helped him untie his tie. The doctor said these are the best days for conception. Shen Nanlang's eyes darkened as he reached out to stroke my face. Are you sure you're ready? Isn't that why I married you? I stood on tiptoe and whispered in his ear. Shen Nanlang, though much older, was a considerate partner, making it all very enjoyable. The moonlight outside the window was as gentle as water, and I softly caressed my own abdomen. I hope this time I can succeed in one go. Only with a child can my position in the Shen family truly be secure. A month later, the family doctor confirmed the news of my pregnancy. Shen Nanlang was overjoyed and immediately ordered the nursery to be redecorated, also assigning me a dedicated nutritionist and bodyguard. I want to host a dinner party, he said excitedly, to announce the good news to everyone. I leaned into his embrace. Whatever you say. The dinner party was scheduled for the weekend, and all of Shen's relatives and business partners received invitations. Su Ruoheng reluctantly attended, with Shenjiao standing side by side yet communicating like strangers. Halfway through the banquet, Shen Nanlang tapped his champagne glass, and the room fell silent. Thank you all for coming, he announced, his voice resonating as he scanned the crowd. Today, I have wonderful news to share. My wife, Jiang Manman, is pregnant. The Shen family is about to welcome a new generation. Applause erupted, and guests stepped forward one after another to offer their congratulations. I stood beside Shen Nanlang, accepting everyone's compliments, but my eyes remained fixed on Shenjiao in the corner. His face turned pale the moment he heard the news, and the wine glass in his hand fell to the ground with a clatter, spilling red wine everywhere. Lin Jifeng quickly pulled him away, but that momentary expression was already deeply imprinted in my mind. Shock, fear, despair, and hatred. Su Ruoheng, on the other hand, brightened up and quickly walked up to me, saying, "Congratulations, Auntie." She deliberately emphasized the word auntie. I hope it's a healthy baby. Thank you, I smiled. Both Nanlang and I hope to have several more children. After all, the Shen family has a large business to manage. Shen Nanlang wrapped his arm around my shoulder. The doctor said Man has a unique constitution and it's very likely to be twins. The guests gasped in amazement once again. I caught a glimpse of Shenjiao standing in the distance, his gaze dark and fixed on my abdomen. That look sent a chill down my spine, but it was quickly replaced by a sense of satisfaction. After the banquet, Shen Nanlang was pulled aside by several executives to discuss business. I excused myself, citing early pregnancy discomfort, and went back to my room to rest. Just as I reached the corner of the staircase, a hand suddenly grabbed my wrist and pulled me into the dark, small living room. Shenjiao's face looked particularly ferocious in the dim light. You wretch, do you think carrying a child means you can rest easy? I shook off his hand and calmly straightened my sleeves. Watch your words, Shen Zhao. I am now carrying the heir to the Shen family. Heir, he sneered, who knows if it's not a bastard? Would you dare say that to your father's face? I retorted, or are you just jealous? After all, the doctor said it would be difficult for you to have a child of your own in this lifetime. Shen Zhao's pupils suddenly contracted. You, how do you know? I know far more than you can imagine. I took a step forward. Though shorter than him, my presence was not the least bit weaker. For example, how you and Lin Jifeng conspired to sideline your father, or how Su Ruoheng meets that model at the Four Seasons Hotel every Wednesday. Shen Zhao's face changed dramatically. You've been spying on me, just protecting my family, that's all. I smiled. Shen Zhao, accept your fate. From now on, your position in the Shen family will only decline further. But don't worry, as your mother, I will take good care of you. He was trembling with anger, raising his hand to hit me. I was prepared, quickly stepping back while pressing the play button on my phone. Shen Nanlang's voice came from the speaker. Man, where are you? Shen Zhao's hand froze in midair. I shook my phone. Your father is looking for me. Do you want him to see you treating his wife and unborn child like this? Shen Zhao gritted his teeth and lowered his hand. We'll see about that. Watching his disheveled figure retreat, I let out a long sigh of relief. This is just the first round. Shen Zhao, when the child in my womb is born, your good days will truly be over. Back in the bedroom, I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, overlooking the Shen family estate. Under the moonlight, a familiar figure was storming toward the garage. It was Shen Zhao. A few minutes later, his sports car roared out of the main gate. I gently caressed my still flat abdomen, a cold smile curling at the corner of my mouth. 5 Ms. Jiang, please lie a bit flatter, in the top-tier VIP examination room at Renha Hospital. Cold coupling gel was applied to my lower abdomen. Shen Nanlang stood beside the examination bed, his eyes fixed intently on the ultrasound screen. Mr. Shen, you might need to brace yourself. Director Li, with graying hair, adjusted his glasses, his voice tinged with barely contained astonishment. Shen Nanlang's body tensed instantly. What's wrong? Is there a problem with the baby? Director Li didn't answer immediately. Instead, he moved the probe to make the image on the screen clearer. I turned my head to look. On the black and white image, several small dots were flickering rhythmically. This is, I feigned surprise, covering my mouth, for heartbeats. Director Li's voice trembled slightly. Ms. Jiang is carrying quadruplets. Shen Nanlang suddenly gripped the edge of the examination bed, his knuckles turning white. Yes, for separate gestational sacs, all developing well. Director Li adjusted the image. Look here, and here, all 4. Heartbeats are strong. I glanced at Shen Nanlang's expression, the shock on his face slowly turning into wild joy, with tears even welling up in the corners of his eyes. A 45-year-old middle-aged man, now as happy as a child. Man, he grabbed my hand tightly. Did you hear that? The Shen family is going to have 4 heirs all at once. I nodded with a smile, but inside, I was sneering. In my previous life, I was killed by Shen Zhao after conceiving just 1 child. In this life, I will completely change the Shen family, replacing that useless one with 4 healthy children. This is truly a miracle, Director Li exclaimed. The chance of naturally conceiving quadruplets is only 1 in 700,000. Ms. Zhang's constitution is indeed extraordinary. Shen Nanlang suddenly turned around and said to his assistant standing in the corner, contact lawyer Zhou immediately. I want to transfer 10% of the Shen Group's shares to my wife. Get it done today. The assistant was stunned for a moment, then quickly pulled out his phone. I pretended to be surprised. Nanlang, this is too valuable. No, this is far from enough, Shen Nanlang said excitedly. You've given the Shen family a future, given me hope. His voice choked up. This was the first time I had seen this tough businessman so emotionally exposed. After the examination, Shen Nanlang carefully helped me sit up and personally wiped the coupling gel from my abdomen, as if I were some fragile treasure. Mr. Shen, quadruplet pregnancies carry higher risks and require extra attention, Director Li said seriously. I recommend weekly checkups to monitor the fetal condition at all times. Of course, Shen Nanlang nodded. I will arrange for the best medical team to be on standby 24/7. Stepping out of the examination room, an unexpected person stood in the hallway. Shen Zhao, he leaned against the wall, his face as gloomy as the sky before a storm. Why are you here? Shen Nanlang frowned. Shen Zhao forced a stiff smile. I heard about the prenatal checkup today, so I came to show some concern. for my little siblings. The last few words seemed to be squeezed out through gritted teeth. I keenly noticed that his right hand was tightly gripping his phone, his knuckles turning white. Perfect timing, I smiled. I just finished the checkup and have good news to announce. Shen Nanlang couldn't wait to interject. Man is pregnant with quadruplets. The Shen family is going to have 4 children all at once. Shen Zhao's expression instantly froze, a flicker of terror flashing in his eyes, followed by deep resentment. He forced a smile. Really, congratulations. His voice was as dry as sandpaper rubbing together. By the way, I asked casually, Shen Zhao, are you here to see Director Li? Shen Zhao stiffened. No, I just, at that moment, a young doctor in a white coat hurried over from the end of the corridor. Seeing our group, he clearly paused, especially when his eyes fell on Shen Zhao, flickering with uncertainty. Dr. Zhang, I called out his name accurately. In my past life, it was he who helped Shen Zhao forge the proof of my false pregnancy holy body. Dr. Zhang's face changed color. You know me, I've heard you're an expert in reproductive medicine, I said with a smile. I happen to have some questions I'd like to ask. Could we speak in private? Shen Zhao suddenly interjected. Dr. Zhang is very busy, let's do it another day, just a few minutes. I insisted, while giving a meaningful glance to the bodyguard standing not far away. This bodyguard was newly assigned to me by Shen Nanlang, a retired Special Forces soldier with exceptional skills. Dr. Zhang hesitated and glanced at Shen Zhao, but ultimately followed me to the corner of the hallway. Shen Zhao wanted to follow, but Shen Nanlang stopped him to ask about company matters. Dr. Zhang, I lowered my voice. What did Shen Zhao ask you to do today? Dr. Zhang's face instantly turned pale. I don't understand what you mean. Stop pretending, I sneered. He asked you to tamper with the examination report, right, like fabricating fetal abnormalities or reducing the number of fetuses. Dr. Zhang's legs began to tremble. Madam, I took an envelope from my bag and pulled out the photos inside, taken by a private investigator, showing Dr. Zhang and Shen Zhao having a secret conversation in a coffee shop. 2 choices, I said calmly. 1. I hand these over to Mr. Shen, and you'll not only lose your job but may also face legal action. 2. You tell me all of Shen Zhao's plans, and I'll act as if nothing ever happened. Sweat beaded on Dr. Zhang's forehead. Shen, young Master Shen asked me to note poor single fetus development on your examination report, he said that way his father wouldn't pay as much attention. Just as I thought, I sneered. What else did he promise you? After the new hospital of the Shen Group is built, he said he would make me the head of the department. Dr. Zhang was almost in tears. Madam, I was confused for a moment. Please, now, go tell Mr. Shen the truth, I commanded. Otherwise, I understand. Dr. Zhang nodded repeatedly. When we returned to Shen Nanlang, Shen Zhao was explaining the progress of a certain project. Seeing Dr. Zhang following behind me, his expression instantly turned to one of horror. Mr. Shen, Dr. Zhang suddenly exclaimed loudly, I have something important to report. Shen Nanlang frowned. What is it, young Master Shen? He told me to falsify Mrs. Shen's medical report. Dr. Zhang blurted out. He said if I didn't do it, he'd ruin my career in the medical field. The hallway fell into a terrifying silence. Shen Nanlang's face visibly darkened, while Shen Zhao turned ashen. What nonsense are you spouting? Shen Zhao roared, grabbing Dr. Zhang by the collar. I don't even know you. Enough. Shen Nanlang's sharp voice echoed through the hallway, startling a few passing nurses who hurried away. Let's talk about it back at the company. He lowered his voice, but his anger was still evident. Dad, listen to my explanation. Shen Zhao panicked. This person is slandering me. It must be Jiang Manman's doing. She wants to drive a wedge between us, father and son. Shen Nanlang looked coldly at his son. Is that so? Then what are these? He grabbed the photos from my hand and threw them in Shen Zhao's face. The photos scattered all over the floor, clearly showing Shen Zhao's secret meetings with Dr. Zhang. The evidence is irrefutable. Shen Zhao's face turned from pale to ashen, then from ashen to flushed, finally settling into a despairing pallor. He opened his mouth, but not a single word came out. Return to the company immediately. Shen Nanlang's voice was as cold as ice. Lawyer Zhou is also there. We need to discuss your shares again. Shen Zhaoru was struck as if by lightning, staggering back a step. Dad, you can't, now, Shen Nanlang shouted. Shen Zhaoru shot me one last resentful glare before turning and stumbling away. I promptly put on a concerned expression. Nanlang, don't be too angry. Shen Zhaoru might just be confused for the moment, a momentary lapse of judgment. Shen Nanlang sneered, he was trying to harm my child. He took my hand. Man, thank goodness you were alert, otherwise. I leaned against his shoulder. I just happened to see them together and decided to be a bit more cautious. When I looked up, I caught Dr. Zhang's relieved expression and smiled at him. Dr. Zhang, thank you for exposing the truth. Once Shen Group's new hospital is completed, we will consider your position. Dr. Zhang froze for a moment, then realized I was keeping my promise. He bowed repeatedly. Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam. On the way back, Shen Nanlang held my hand tightly the entire time. The news of the quadruplets filled him with ecstasy, while Shen Zhao's betrayal ignited a raging fury within him. These two extreme emotions intertwined on his face, creating a peculiar expression. Man. He suddenly said, starting today, you must have someone by your side 24 hours a day. I will arrange for 2 more bodyguards. I feigned surprise. Is that really necessary? Shen Zhao is, after all, your son. Precisely because he is my son, I understand him. Shen Nanlang's voice carried an unprecedented coldness. He was spoiled from a young age. If he can't have something, he'd rather destroy it. I lowered my head, stroking my flat abdomen to conceal the chill in my eyes. Shen Nanlang was right. Shen Zhao was indeed that kind of person. In my past life, when he couldn't have Su Ruoheng, he took his anger out on me and our unborn child. By the way, Shen Nanlang changed the subject. Lawyer Zhou has already prepared the equity transfer documents. You just need to sign them this afternoon. I looked up, tears welling up in my eyes at the right moment. Nanlang, this is too generous. You deserve it, he said firmly. 10% is just the beginning. Once the children are born, I'll transfer more shares to your name. His eyes shone with determination. The future of the Shen family depends on you and the children. The signing ceremony in the afternoon was held in the top-floor conference room of the company. Lawyer Zhou explained the details of the equity transfer in detail, while Shen Nanlang held my hand the entire time, his face filled with pride. After signing the documents, Shen Nanlang announced publicly, from today onward, Ms. Jiang Man officially becomes a shareholder of Shen Group, holding 10% of the shares, and will join the board of directors. The executives present applauded and congratulated her one after another, but only Lin Jifeng's expression was stiff, his eyes constantly glancing toward Shen Zhao in the corner. Shen Zhao stood there, his face as dark as the sky before a storm, the documents in his hand crumpled out of shape. After the meeting, Shen Nanlang called a family gathering. Several key members of the Shen family sat around the long table, the atmosphere so tense it felt like it could be wrung out. Given Shen Zhao's behavior today, Shen Nanlang got straight to the point. I have decided to adjust his position and equity in the company. Shen Zhao suddenly looked up. Dad, 3% of the 5% shares under your name will be reclaimed, leaving you with only 2%, Shen Nanlang said coldly. Your position as deputy director of the project department will be retained, but all major decisions must be signed off by Director Lin. Lin Jifeng was clearly taken aback. Not expecting to be named, I sneered inwardly. Shen Nanlang's move was brilliant. By having Shen Zhao's confidant supervise him, it not only appeared fair but also drove a wedge between the two. This isn't fair. Shen Zhao slammed the table and stood up. For the sake of a woman, you're going to ruin your own son. Watch your words. Shen Nanlang shouted sternly. She is your mother, and she's carrying your younger siblings. She is not my mother, Shen Zhao screamed hysterically. She's just a liar. Who knows whose bastards those children are? As soon as the words left his mouth, Shen Nanlang had already slapped him. A crisp crack sounded as Shen Zhao's face was slapped to the side, blood seeping from the corner of his mouth. Get out. Shen Nanlang's voice was as cold as ice. If I hear such words again, you can get out of the Shen family. Shen Zhao covered his face, the hatred in his eyes almost turning into something tangible. He scanned the room, his gaze finally landing on me, sending a chill down my spine, but in an instant, he reverted to being the aggrieved son. Dad, I was wrong. His voice choked with emotion. I was just afraid of losing your love. Shen Nanlang's expression softened slightly. Seeing this, I immediately interjected gently. Nanlang, it's good that the child knows he was wrong. Shen Zhao was just confused for a moment. After all, suddenly having 4 younger siblings would make anyone feel uneasy. These words may seem like a plea for Shen Zhao, but in reality, they cut deep with every sentence. Sure enough, Shen Nanlang's expression turned cold again. A 25-year-old, still so immature. Get out. Shen Zhao shot me a final resentful glare before storming out. slamming the door behind him. The meeting ended hastily, with the Shen family members dispersing, each lost in their own thoughts. When I returned home that evening, Shen Nanlang was still fuming. Downing glass after glass of whiskey, I walked over with a cup of warm milk and gently pressed his hand down. "Stop drinking, it's not good for your health." Shen Nanlang set down the wine glass and rubbed his temples wearily. "Am I too much of a failure to have raised my son like this?" "It's not your fault." I leaned against his shoulder. "Some people are just not quite right from the start." Shen Nanlang suddenly looked up. "What do you mean?" I pretended to hesitate. I shouldn't say it." "Speak," Shen Nanlang commanded. "Last time when I was tidying up the study, I accidentally saw Shen Zhao's medical records," I whispered. "The doctor diagnosed him with antisocial personality tendencies." Shen Nanlang was as if struck by lightning. "What? How come I didn't know?" "Perhaps your ex-wife was afraid you'd worry, so she kept it hidden," I cautiously speculated. "The file was concealed inside the book cover of Das Kapital, very well hidden." Shen Nanlang immediately stood up and rushed toward the study. I slowly followed, knowing he would find the meticulously forged medical report. In the previous life, Shen Zhao did indeed have psychological issues, but they were never formally diagnosed. In this life, I want Shen Nanlang to see his son's true nature clearly. The sound of rummaging through boxes and cabinets came from the study, followed by Shen Nanlang's curses. I stood at the door, watching his trembling hands holding that medical report. His face filled with shock and pain. No wonder he's enjoyed abusing small animals since he was a child," Shen Nanlang muttered to himself. "I thought it was just a boy being mischievous." I walked over and hugged him. "Don't be too upset. It's not too late to know now. We can hire the best psychologist." Shen Nanlang shook his head, a resolute gleam flashing in his eyes. "No, some people are born demons. From today on, I will no longer show him any mercy." I leaned against his chest, a cold smile curling at the corner of my mouth. "Shen Zhao, your good days are truly over." Late at night, I stood by the bedroom window, watching a sports car roar out of the Shen family's gate. It was Shen Zhao, off to vent his anger somewhere, no doubt. I gently caressed my abdomen, feeling the 4 little lives growing inside. "Shen Zhao, this is just the beginning," I whisper into the night. "The pain you gave me in my past life, I will return it to you, bit by bit." My phone vibrates. A message from the private detective. "Target met with Lin Jifeng at Nightfall Bar, conversation recorded." "Should I send it now?" I reply. "Not yet, keep watching." Putting down my phone, I lay on the bed, feeling the subtle changes within my body. 4 little lives are thriving inside me. They are my weapons of revenge and the foundation of my standing in the Shen family. "Shen Zhao, no matter what you plan, you cannot escape my watchful eyes. In this lifetime, I will watch you step by step toward your own destruction." 6. By the 4th month of pregnancy, my belly had noticeably swelled, much larger than that of an ordinary expectant mother. The burden of carrying quadruplets often left my back and waist aching, but every time I caressed my abdomen and felt the movements of those 4 little lives, all the weariness turned into sweetness. The morning sunlight filtered through the curtains into the bedroom. Leaning against the headboard, I flipped through the documents Shen Nanlang had left on the nightstand. It was a proposal for the Shen Group's acquisition of a coastal resort. In my previous life, this project had caused significant losses for the Shen Group due to fraudulent environmental assessments. Working this early, Shen Nanlang emerged from the bathroom, water still dripping from the tips of his hair. The 45-year-old man maintained an excellent physique, with well-defined abdominal muscles, showing no signs of nearing the age of 50. I waved the document. "There's an issue with this project." Shen Nanlang raised an eyebrow and sat on the edge of the bed. "What do you mean?" "The environmental assessment report here." I pointed to one of the pages. "The data is too perfect, so perfect it's unrealistic." I checked local forums, and some fishermen have reported a noticeable decline in water quality over the past 2 years, but the report makes no mention of it. Shen Nanlang frowned as he took the document. "Environmental protection is Lin Jifeng's responsibility. Director Lin might be too busy to notice the details," I said casually, subtly implying Lin Jifeng's negligence. In my past life, it was him and Shen Zhao who worked together to cover up this issue. Shen Nanlang pondered for a moment, then picked up his phone. "I'll have a third party reassess it." I smiled without saying a word. Since the incident at the hospital last time, Shen Nanlang has grown increasingly trusting of my business instincts. Over the past month, the few issues I accidentally discovered have successfully helped the Shen family avoid risks. Now, I've earned the nickname Lucky Star among the board of directors. The phone vibrated, and a new message from the private detective came through. The target had a heated argument with Su Ruohang last night. Su Ruohang stormed out and is now staying in room 2806 at the Four Seasons Hotel. A male visitor arrived at 2 a.m. I deleted the message, a faint smile curling at the corner of my lips. Shen Zhao and Su Ruohang's perfect marriage had finally shattered. In my past life, Su Ruohang was the white moonlight in Shen Zhao's heart, but in this life, he had become Shen Zhao's nightmare. How are you feeling today? Shen Nanlang changed into his suit, leaned down, and gently kissed my forehead. Pretty good. I stroked my belly. It's just that the little ones are too active. They kept me awake all night with their kicking. Shen Nanlang placed his large hand on my abdomen, just in time to feel a distinct fetal movement. His eyes instantly softened. So mischievous. Just like you. Not at all. It must be like you, I cooed. So domineering, never letting me have a moment's peace. Shen Nanlang chuckled softly, kissed me again, and then left. Listening to the sound of his footsteps fading away, I picked up my phone and dialed a number. Li, this is Jiang Man. I'd like to reschedule next week's checkup. Yes, change it to Wednesday at 10 a.m. No, please don't notify anyone else, including Mr. Shen. I want to surprise him. After hanging up the phone, I slowly got up and washed up. In the mirror, although my abdomen was bulging, my limbs remained slender, and my face glowed with the rosy complexion unique to pregnancy. In my previous life, when I was pregnant with Shen Zhao's child, I vomited so much that I felt dizzy and disoriented. This time, however, it has been surprisingly smooth, with very little morning sickness. When I went downstairs for breakfast, the servant's attitude was even more respectful than before. Since I became a shareholder of the Shen family, even the usually arrogant butler Lin has learned to bow his head. Madam, your freshly squeezed orange juice. Shao He carefully placed the cup in front of me. I nodded in thanks and casually opened today's financial newspaper. The front page prominently featured the news of the Shen Group's successful acquisition of a medical equipment company, accompanied by a photo of Shen Nanlang looking triumphant. This report was supposed to appear a year later, but now it has been brought forward due to my intervention. While I was having breakfast, the doorbell rang. A moment later, Shao He rushed in nervously. Madam, Miss Su's mother is here and wants to see you. I raised an eyebrow. Invite her in. Su's mother stormed into the restaurant with a furious expression, her well-maintained face filled with anger. Jiang Man, what do you mean by this? Why are you spreading rumors to ruin my daughter's reputation? I wiped my mouth slowly and deliberately. Mrs. Su, I don't understand what you're talking about. Don't play dumb. Su's mother slammed the table. What's the deal with those photos? Ruohang with different men. Those kinds of photos are now circulating throughout the entire social circle. I feigned surprise. What photos? I really don't know. I paused for a moment, but, a few days ago, a friend did mention seeing Miss Su at nightfall with a man, being very intimate. I even defended her, saying it must have been a misunderstanding. Su Mu's face turned pale and then flushed. You, Mrs. Su, my tone turned cold. What your daughter has done has nothing to do with me. Instead of questioning me, you should discipline your daughter properly. After all, she is still the daughter-in-law of the Shen family. Su Mu was left speechless by my words. In the end, she angrily spat out, "We'll see about that," and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I picked up my phone and sent a message to the private detective. The photos were spread well. The final payment has been made. Putting down my phone, I finished the orange juice with a pleasant mood. In her previous life, Su Ruohang was a socialite with a chaotic private life that was never exposed. In this life, I will make Shen Zhao taste what it's like to be a cuckold, and let everyone know what kind of person he married. In the afternoon, I went to the headquarters of the Shen Group as planned. Since becoming pregnant, Shen Nanlang specially arranged a private office for me next to the CEO's office, making it convenient for me to rest at any time. Not long after sitting down, Lin Jifeng knocked and entered, wearing a deliberate smile on his face. Chairman Jiang, here is the environmental assessment for the new project. Please take a look. I took the document and pretended to flip through it seriously. This new evaluation is clearly much more rigorous than the previous one. It seems my morning reminder had an effect. Good job. I closed the file. Director Lin, you've worked hard. Lin Jifeng's smile was stiff. It's only right. He hesitated for a moment. Shen Zhao hasn't been in a good mood lately. I hope Chairman Jiang won't take it to heart. I raised an eyebrow. Director Lin and Shen Zhao are very close. Lin Jifeng broke out in a cold sweat on his forehead. Just colleagues, showing some concern. Is that so? I smiled. then please tell him that, as his stepmother, I am very concerned about his physical and mental well-being. If he needs a psychologist, the Shen family can arrange for the best. Lin Jifeng nodded repeatedly and hurriedly retreated from the office. I sneered coldly and picked up my phone to check the monitoring software. This software was connected to the bugs I had installed in Shen Nanlang's study and Shen Zhao's apartment, a masterpiece from a private detective. Sure enough, half an hour later, Lin Jifeng and Shen Zhao met up at a cafe. The bug clearly transmitted their conversation. That bitch is getting suspicious. Shen Zhao's voice was filled with resentment. She must know we tampered with the environmental assessment. Calm down, Lin Jifeng whispered. The most important thing now is not to alert her. When she goes into labor, I've already made arrangements at the hospital. Still have to wait, Shen Zhao nearly shouted. She's already flaunting my father's child in the boardroom. If we wait a few more months, will there even be a place for me in the Shen family? Keep your voice down, Lin Jifeng warned. The plan is already set. Accidents in the delivery room are all too common. Massive hemorrhage, amniotic fluid embolism, any one of them could take her life. When the time comes, your father will be too grief-stricken, and the company will still have to rely on you. My blood froze instantly. In my previous life, Shen Zhao only caused me to miscarry by kicking me while drunk, but in this life, they actually planned to take my life directly. Forcing myself to calm down, I continued to eavesdrop. What about those 4 bastards? Shen Zhao asked through gritted teeth. Let's solve this together. Lin Jifeng's voice was as cold as if it didn't belong to a human. Premature babies are too fragile. It's normal for accidents to happen. I turned off the monitoring software, my hands instinctively moving to protect my abdomen. Although I had anticipated Shen Zhao would retaliate, I never imagined he could be this malicious. After taking a few deep breaths, I dialed the private investigator's number. I need you to look into a few people. Yes, from the obstetrics and gynecology department at Renha Hospital, especially those connected to Li Jifeng. After hanging up the phone, I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing down at the city below. The sun is still bright, and pedestrians are as insignificant as ants at this height. Everything is under control, including Shen Zhao's murder plan, which he thought was secret. When I returned home in the evening, Shen Nanlang had come back unusually early and was handling documents in the study. I walked in with a cup of hot milk and found him reading a medical report. What is this? I asked curiously. Shen Nanlang quickly closed the file. Nothing, just a routine physical exam report. He changed the subject. Were the babies well behaved today? Pretending not to notice his unusual behavior, I smiled and replied, they were quite well behaved, just a little hungry. I stroked my belly. Nanlang, I want to switch to a different hospital for the delivery. Shen Nanlang frowned. What's wrong? Isn't Renha the best? It is the best, but, I hesitated for a moment. I heard that several medical staff have recently resigned, and I'm worried it might affect the quality of service, and, I lowered my voice, I heard that Shen Zhao and Lin Jifeng have connections at Renha. Shen Nanlang's eyes sharpened. What have they done? There's no solid evidence. I shook my head. It's just a gut feeling of unease. Maybe it's just pregnancy anxiety. Shen Nanlang pondered for a moment, then picked up his phone. I'll contact my friends in the US and arrange for a top-tier obstetrics team to come. It'll be safer to give birth at home. I leaned against his shoulder. I'll leave it all to you. This was exactly what I wanted, giving birth at home, with complete control over the medical team. Shen Zhao's scheme will be completely foiled. 3 days later, the private investigator sent a full report. Renha Hospital indeed had 2 medical staff members with financial dealings with Lin Jifeng, including an anesthesiologist and a nurse. Even more shocking, the report revealed that Shen Zhao had recently purchased a colorless and odorless drug capable of causing postpartum hemorrhage. I printed out the report and locked it in the safe. These are all powerful tools to use against Shen Zhao in the future, but now is not the time to expose them. I will wait until he truly takes action, then catch him red-handed. At the weekend family dinner, Shen Zhao made a rare appearance since his shares were reduced. He rarely appears at family occasions. Today, however, he broke the norm and even smiled at me, if that twisted expression could be called a smile. Aunt Jiang, he deliberately used a respectful tone. I heard you changed your medical team. I smiled. Yes, your father was concerned and specially invited a team from the United States. Shen Zhao's lips twitched slightly. Then, where will the production take place? At home. Shen Nanlang interjected. The delivery room is already prepared, more comfortable and safer than a hospital. I saw Shen Zhao's hand tremble slightly, but he quickly regained control. that's wonderful. I'm really looking forward to the birth of my younger siblings. Thank you for your concern, I said softly. By the way, why didn't Miss Sue come? Shen Zhao's face instantly darkened. She isn't feeling well. I pretended to be concerned. Should we call the family doctor? Pregnant women can't afford to be careless. Pregnant? Shen Nanlang looked at me in surprise. Su Ruoheng is pregnant. Shen Zhao's face turned deathly pale. No, that's not it. She's just, I heard she went to the gynecology department last week, I said softly. I thought there might be good news. Shen Nanlang frowned. Shen Zhao, what's really going on? Shen Zhao broke out in a cold sweat on his forehead. It's just a routine checkup. I tactfully changed the subject. All right, let's eat first. Talking about pregnancy makes young people uncomfortable. Undercurrents surged at the dinner table. Shen Zhao's gaze drifted toward me from time to time, filled with resentment and fear. He must be worried about the failure of the production plan, and even more afraid that Su Ruoheng's scandal will be exposed. After the meal, Shen Nanlang was called away by a phone call. I excused myself due to pregnancy fatigue and went back to my room to rest, but at the corner of the stairs, I was stopped by Shen Zhao. What do you know? He questioned in a low voice, his eyes flashing with a dangerous glint. I pretended to be confused. What do you mean? Stop playing dumb. He grabbed my wrist. The matter with Ruoheng, and let go of the lady. The bodyguard's voice came from behind, and the next second, Shen Zhao was pinned against the wall. I rubbed my wrist, looking at him coldly. Shen Zhao, what are you doing? You'll regret this. Jiang Man. Shen Zhao gritted his teeth. I swear, you'll regret it. The bodyguard looked at me, waiting for instructions. I shook my head. Let him go. Shen Zhao, I suggest you calm down. Impulse is the devil. Shen Zhao straightened his clothes, gave me one last glare, and turned to leave. Watching his staggering figure, I knew he had reached a dead end, and a cornered beast is often the most dangerous. Back in the bedroom, I locked the door and retrieved a small self-defense stun gun from under the pillow, given to me by the private investigator. It was powerful enough to incapacitate a grown man. Shen Zhao's level of madness had exceeded my expectations, and I needed to be even more cautious. Outside the window, the setting sun cast a bloody hue over the Shen family estate. I gently stroked my swollen belly, feeling the movements of the 4 little lives inside. Don't be afraid, Mommy will protect you. I whispered the promise. No one can harm us. The game of revenge has reached a critical moment. Shen Zhao's killing intent has already surfaced, and my counterattack has just begun. 7. In the early morning of the day I was exactly 32 weeks pregnant. A sharp pain jolted me awake from my sleep. I instinctively touched my abdomen, and my palm immediately felt an unusual tightness, contractions, and they were coming fast and intense. Nanlang, I pushed my husband awake beside me, my voice trembling with pain. I think I might be going into labor. Shen Nanlang snapped awake instantly and pressed the emergency call button by the bedside. The entire Shen family estate lit up as bright as day, the alarm waking everyone, 2 weeks ahead of the due date. Shen Nanlang helped me get dressed while giving instructions into the intercom. Activate the emergency plan immediately and contact the medical team. I clenched my teeth, cold sweat beading on my forehead. Don't be afraid, the American medical team will be here within 20 minutes. Shen Nanlang picked me up and strode toward the already prepared home delivery room. Everything will go smoothly. I gripped his collar tightly, suddenly remembering something. Wait, your phone, bring it. Shen Nanlang was taken aback for a moment, but still turned around to grab his phone. I breathed a sigh of relief. In my previous life, he had forgotten his phone when he went out today, missed an important call, and caused the company to suffer heavy losses. In this life, I must ensure he can answer that call at any time. The delivery room was fully prepared, with a comfortable temperature and complete equipment. Looking no different from a high-end hospital's delivery room, Shen Nanlang carefully placed me on the bed, and the nurses immediately gathered around to conduct an examination. The cervix is already dilated 4 centimeters. We must proceed with delivery immediately, announced Chief Obstetrician Catherine after her examination. The risk of premature birth for quadruplets is very high, and we need to prepare the NICU right away. Shen Nanlang's expression turned grave. Do everything you can to ensure both the mother and the children are safe. Another wave of contractions hit, and the pain was so intense that my vision blurred. Yet I still forced myself to stay conscious. Something's not right. This is all wrong. Given my constitution, I shouldn't be giving birth this early. Nanlang, I struggled to grab his hand. Check everyone who entered the estate today, especially the medical team. Shen Nanlang frowned. You suspect? Please. The veins on my forehead bulged. for the children's sake. Shen Nanlang immediately turned and ordered the security captain, seal off the manor and verify everyone's identity, especially the newly arrived medical staff. The security captain accepted the order and left. I felt slightly relieved, but the pain in my abdomen grew increasingly intense, almost making it impossible for me to think. Madam, push, we can already see the first baby's head, Dr. Catherine encouraged. I gritted my teeth and used all my strength. After a tearing pain, the first baby's cry rang out. It's a boy, the nurse announced excitedly, though premature. His cry is strong. I smiled weakly, but before I could feel joy, the next wave of contractions came. Quadruplets mean 4 rounds of labor, and my physical strength is rapidly draining. The second baby is out, still a boy. At that moment, a commotion erupted outside the door. The head of security rushed in, his face unusually grim. Mr. Shen, we found a fake nurse in the changing room. She was carrying syringes and unidentified drugs. Shen Nanlang's expression changed abruptly. Find out who ordered this. They've already confessed. It was. The head bodyguard hesitated and glanced at me. It was young Master Shen Zhao. Even though I had anticipated it, this news still made my heart tremble. Shen Zhao had indeed made his move, and it was even more vicious than in my previous life. Not an impulsive act after drinking, but a meticulously planned murder. That unfilial son. Shen Nanlang was furious and turned to rush out. Wait, I mustered all my strength to grab his hand. There are still 2 children. I need you here. Shen Nanlang struggled for a moment, then finally nodded. I'll handle things here first. That unfilial son won't get away. The delivery continued, but the atmosphere had clearly grown much more tense. Bodyguards stood on high alert outside the delivery room, with even medical staff under close surveillance. Exhausted as I was, I dared not let my guard down for a moment. The third child, a girl, just as the third baby was born. Shen Nanlang's phone suddenly rang. He was about to hang up, but his expression changed slightly upon seeing the number. It's an emergency contact from the Swiss bank. Answer it, I said weakly. It's important. Shen Nanlang glanced at me suspiciously, but still answered the call. Hello, what? His expression shifted from shock to anger. Freeze that account immediately. I'll send someone to handle it right away. After hanging up, Shen Nanlang's face turned terrifyingly dark. Shen Zhao is transferring overseas assets and even forged my signature. He gritted his teeth. He's planning to flee. I closed my eyes, a cold sneer in my heart. Shen Zhao, you really are like a cornered dog, desperate and reckless. The last baby, a girl. Congratulations. 2 boys and 2 girls. A perfect combination. Dr. Catherine announced. The 4 little lives were carefully placed beside me, though premature. Their cries were loud and strong, and they all appeared healthy. I gently touched their wrinkled little faces, tears blurring my vision. The children I couldn't protect in my past life have finally been born safely in this one. Nanlang, give the children names, I whispered softly. Shen Nanlang looked at the 4 little lives, the anger in his eyes slightly subsiding. The eldest is Shen Rui, the second is Shen Zhe, the third is Shen Yu, the fourth is Shen Lin. Sounds good, I smiled, then suddenly remembered something. Oh, right, you should head to the company. The Swiss bank matter needs to be handled in person. Shen Nanlang hesitated, looking at me and the children. But you all, with the bodyguards and medical team here, we're very safe. I insisted. The company matters are more important. Shen Nanlang finally nodded. I'll be back as soon as possible. He kissed my forehead and the children's, then hurried away. I know what he will face when he leaves. The car accident arranged by Shen Zhao. In this life, I will not only save myself and the children, but also save Shen Nanlang. After confirming that Shen Nanlang had left, I asked the nurse to take the children to the nursery next door to rest, leaving only the most trusted head of security, Captain Zhang. I forced myself to stay awake. Mr. Shen is in danger. Shen Zhao has arranged a car accident on his way to the company. Captain Zhang's face changed dramatically. I'll notify Mr. Shen immediately. No, don't alert the enemy. I shook my head. Take a few reliable people and set up an ambush at that section of the road in advance. Remember, it's a blue truck, license plate ending in 37. Captain Zhang looked at me in shock. Madam, how do you know? There's no time to explain, I said weakly but firmly. You must ensure Mr. Shen's safety. After catching the perpetrator, send them directly to the police station, and don't let Shen Zhao know. Captain Zhang accepted the order and left. I let out a long sigh of relief, finally allowing myself to close my eyes for a short rest. When I woke up again, Shen Nanlang was sitting by the bed. His face looking terrifyingly gloomy. Seeing me open my eyes, he immediately grasped my hand. Man, you're awake. The children, are they okay? My voice was hoarse. They're fine, all under observation in incubators, but the doctor says they're very healthy. Shen Nanlang forced a smile, but the anger in his eyes was unmistakable. Captain Zhang caught the truck driver, and he confessed that it was Shen Zhao who ordered it. I feigned shock. What? He wanted to kill you, not just me. Shen Nanlang's voice was as cold as ice. He planned to take care of both of us today, then flee abroad with the transferred assets. I closed my eyes, tears streaming down. These tears are half real, half feigned, for Shen Zhao's cruelty, and for the joy of the plan's success. Man, I owe you my life. Shen Nanlang tightly grips my hand. If you hadn't reminded me to bring my phone, if you hadn't sensed the danger, what about Shen Zhao? I asked softly. He ran, but he won't get far. Shen Nanlang sneered. I've already frozen all his accounts and issued a citywide manhunt. He won't be able to escape. I nodded, saying nothing more. Shen Zhao's fate was already sealed. 3 days later, I was barely able to get out of bed and walk. The first thing I did was go to see the children in the nursery, for little babies lay in incubators, their tiny hands and feet occasionally moving, so adorable it could melt your heart. They are so beautiful, Dr. Catherine stood beside me. Although they were born prematurely, all their indicators are good. They can leave the incubators after another week of observation. I gently touched the glass of the incubator, feeling an unprecedented surge of protectiveness in my heart. These 4 little lives were the driving force behind my revenge and the hope for my new life. Madam, Captain Zhang hurried over. We have news about Shen Zhao. I followed Captain Zhang into the hallway. Go on. He was caught at the docks trying to sneak into Southeast Asia. Captain Zhang whispered. Mr. Shen has already sent him to a psychiatric hospital, claiming it's antisocial personality disorder, requiring compulsory treatment. I raised an eyebrow. A psychiatric hospital, that was unexpected, but upon further thought, it's even more cruel than prison. A person who believes they're normal, locked in a psychiatric hospital, forced to receive injections and undergo treatment every day. Where is Su Ruoheng? I asked. She filed for divorce yesterday and ran off with all the money she could take, Captain Zhang said with a look of disdain. I heard she really is pregnant, but the child isn't Shen Zhao's. I let out a soft laugh. In the previous life, Su Ruoheng was the white moonlight in Shen Zhao's heart, but in this life, she became the final straw that broke him. Fate can be so ironic at times. When I returned to the ward, Shen Nanlang was waiting for me, holding a document in his hand. Man, he said with a serious expression. I have revised the will. From today onward, you own 45% of the shares in the Shen Group, making you the largest shareholder. I looked at him in shock. This is too much. This is what you deserve. Shen Nanlang took my hand. You have not only given the Shen family a future but have also saved my life twice. He paused. As for Shen Zhao, the 2% shares under his name have been recovered. From now on, he will only receive a basic living allowance each month, supervised by a trust fund. I leaned on his shoulder, hiding the coldness in my eyes. Shen Zhao, you finally have nothing left. The mental hospital will be your final destination for the rest of your life, just like me in my past life, trapped in a hopeless marriage, only to die miserably under your feet. A week later, the children were taken out of the incubator and brought back to the Shen family estate. Shen Nanlang hired 4 professional nannies to take care of them around the clock. As for me, I gradually began to take over the operations of the Shen Group. Sitting in Shen Nanlang's former seat, I flipped through the documents, a smile unconsciously curling at the corners of my mouth. In my past life, I was merely a tool for reproduction, used and discarded. In this life, I have become the helm of this commercial empire. My phone vibrated, and a message from the private detective appeared. On the 3rd day at the mental institution, the target refuses to admit any illness and was forcibly injected with sedatives. As per your request, special care has been arranged, I replied. Continue monitoring and report regularly. Setting down the phone, I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing out at the panoramic view of the city. The sunlight streams through the glass, warm and bright upon me, for children are sleeping peacefully in the nursery downstairs. Shen Nanlang obeys my every word, and Shen Zhao is living a life worse than death in the mental hospital. The taste of revenge is sweeter than I ever imagined. Madam, the secretary knocks and enters. Here are today's meeting minutes for your review. I took the document and elegantly signed my name. Jiang Man, once that pitiful woman who was deceived, exploited, and killed, has now risen from the ashes like a phoenix. By the way, I called out to the secretary who was about to leave. Please help me contact the person in charge of the maternal and infant brand Perfect Circle. I'd like to discuss a collaboration. The secretary nodded and left. This is my newly invested maternal and infant brand, named after the homophones of Shen Nanlang's and my names, also symbolizing my rebirth, a complete life, a complete revenge. In the evening, I was holding my youngest daughter, Shen Lin, for a walk in the garden when Shen Nanlang walked over and gently wrapped his arm around my shoulder. Tired, not tired, I smiled, looking at the children. All weariness disappears. Shen Nanlang kissed the top of my head. Thank you, man, thank you for giving me all of this. I leaned against his chest, watching the sunset dye the Shen family estate in golden hues. For children, a husband who loves me, supreme power and wealth, all of this was bought with the blood and tears of my past life. Shen Zhao, in the mental hospital, have you ever regretted that kick? 8. The quadruplets 100-day celebration was held at the Shen family estate. With nearly all the business elite in attendance, I was wearing a custom champagne-colored gown, standing in the center of the banquet hall, receiving congratulations from everyone. My abdomen had already returned to its flat state, even tighter than before pregnancy, thanks to the strict postpartum recovery training I did every day. Congratulations, Chairman Jiang, all 4 babies are healthy and beautiful. What a blessing. A female jewelry company owner warmly grasped my hand. We've specially prepared a set from our new baby collection for each of your 4 little ones. I smiled and expressed my thanks, my peripheral glance sweeping over Shen Nanlang standing not far away. He was holding his youngest daughter, Shen Lin, with an unmistakable pride on his face. Having a child at 45 was already a challenge, but having 4 healthy children at once made him a legend among his circle of friends. In a corner of the banquet hall, 4 nannies each held a child, surrounded by guests eager to share in the joy and good fortune. I walked over and gently stroked each child's little face. The eldest, Shen Rui, was sound asleep, while the second, Shen Zhe, was wide-eyed and looking around. The third, Shen Yu, and the fourth, Shen Lin, were like a pair of awake angels, neither crying nor fussing. Madam, there's a phone call for you. The butler, Uncle Lin, approached and handed me the phone. Since the last time he was caught embezzling, this old butler's attitude has become much more respectful. The voice on the phone belonged to a private detective, Ms. Jiang. Shen Zhao was released from the psychiatric hospital yesterday. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, why? The diagnosis said he was in stable condition, and since Su Ruoheng left him some money during the divorce, he paid the bail. The detective paused, but as soon as he left the hospital, someone started following him. Who was it? A few rich second-generation kids he used to bully. The detective's voice carried a hint of schadenfreude. I heard he was forced to drink until he had a stomach hemorrhage at a bar last night, and this morning loan sharks came after him for debt. He's now hiding in a small hotel in the east part of the city. The corner of my mouth lifted slightly. Keep an eye on him and report back at any time. After hanging up the phone, I looked at the crowd in the banquet hall, toasting and mingling. 3 months ago, Shen Zhao was still the eldest son of the Shen family, basking in glory and prestige. Now, he has become a stray dog, despised and chased by everyone. Karma truly never misses its mark. Man, Shen Nanlang walked over, holding Shen Lin in one arm and handing me a document with the other. Lawyer Zhou has brought the equity transfer agreement. You just need to sign it. I opened the document, and 45% of the shares in the Shen Group were officially transferred to my name. This meant that not only had I become the largest shareholder of the group, but I was also legally recognized as the true mistress of the Shen family. Thank you. I signed my name and looked up to see the tenderness flickering in Shen Nanlang's eyes. In this life, he truly gave me everything I wanted: status, wealth, children, and respect. By the way, Shen Nanlang lowered his voice. Shen Zhao has been released. I feigned surprise. Really? What did the doctor say? He said he's no longer aggressive and can return to society. Shen Nanlang sneered. I've had people keep an eye on him. If he steps out of line again, he'll be sent back immediately. I nodded and said nothing more. Shen Zhao was no longer a threat. A worthless man abandoned by his family, divorced by his wife, and penniless. Living was more painful for him than dying. After the banquet, I convened my first board meeting as the largest shareholder. In the conference room, the executives who had once ignored me were now all showing great respect. Regarding the development plan for the Perfect Circle, maternal and infant brand, I opened the folder. I believe we should increase our online marketing efforts while also opening physical experience stores. Lin Jifeng, once Shen Zhao's trusted aide, now my capable assistant, immediately agreed. Chairman Jiang has a brilliant insight. Our marketing department has already prepared a detailed plan. After the meeting, I stayed alone in the office, turned on the computer, and checked the latest photos sent by the private investigator. Shen Zhao was curled up on a bed in a shabby hotel, his face sallow and his eyes sunken, completely unrecognizable as the former eldest son of the Shen family. The next photo was even more striking. Su Ruoheng was walking arm in arm with a young man into a high-end jewelry store. Her belly was slightly swollen, clearly indicating she was several months pregnant. I put down my phone, and the sunlight streamed through the glass, warm and bright. The taste of revenge is sweeter than imagined. When I returned home in the evening, the children had just finished their baths, their 4 little faces flushed and exuding a milky scent. I kissed each of them in turn, feeling an unprecedented sense of fulfillment welling up in my heart. "Madam," the nanny said softly, "Mr. Shen called to say he has a business dinner tonight and won't be back for dinner." I nodded, not surprised. Since the children were born, Shen Nanlang has trusted me more and given me more freedom. This respectful way of getting along is actually more comfortable for me than forced intimacy, for children were playing under the care of a professional nanny. As I entered, Shen Yu and Shen Lin babbled and reached out their hands, asking to be held. I picked up my 2 daughters and gently rocked them. Sunlight streamed through the window, bathing us in its warm and tranquil glow. In the afternoon, I visited the first physical store of the Perfect Circle, maternal and infant brand. The store is spacious and bright, with warm and elegant decor that reflects my pursuit of quality in every detail. Chairman Jiang, the store manager, greeted warmly. In just 1 week since opening, sales have already exceeded expectations by 3 times. I smiled as I inspected the store, occasionally picking up products to examine them. This brand carries my love for my 4 children and embodies my philosophy as a mother. Back in the car, my phone rang again. It was Shen Nanlang. Man, I just got the news that Shen Zhao is in the hospital, dead. I gripped my phone tightly. What happened? Alcohol poisoning and stomach bleeding. They couldn't save him. Shen Nanlang's voice sounded weary. The police have investigated, and it was indeed an accident. I fell silent for a moment. Should we hold a funeral? No need, Shen Nanlang said coldly. He hasn't been part of the Shen family for a long time. After hanging up the phone, I looked out the window. Shen Zhao was dead, just like that, quietly passing away in the hospital, without even a proper funeral. In my past life, he caused the death of me and my unborn child. In this life, he ended up alone and with nothing. What goes around comes around. That evening, Shen Nanlang came back unusually early, holding a bottle of red wine. Care for a drink? He shook the bottle. Let's celebrate. I raised an eyebrow. Celebrate what? New life. Shen Nanlang poured 2 glasses of wine and handed one to me. Shen Zhao is dead, our child is growing up healthy, and our career is thriving. Isn't that worth celebrating? I took the glass and gently clinked it with his. It is. After a few rounds of drinks, Shen Nanlang's gaze softened. Man, thank you for giving me all of this. I smiled without saying a word. He will never know that my original intention in marrying him was revenge, but now, I truly appreciate him for giving me a new life. By the way, Shen Nanlang suddenly said, I want to entrust more of the company's business to you. You have a business mind, much stronger than my old subordinates. I raised an eyebrow. Aren't you afraid I'll sideline you, would you? Shen Nanlang retorted, a strange light flickering in his eyes. We looked at each other for a moment and smiled simultaneously. He knew my capabilities, and I understood his bottom line. This kind of tacit understanding is more solid than love. All right, I raised my glass. Happy cooperation. The night is deep, and I stand by the bedroom window, gazing at the Shen family estate under the moonlight. In my past life, this place was my nightmare, but in this life, it has become my kingdom. For children, supreme power, abundant wealth. I have gained everything I desired. I gently caress my abdomen, where 4 little lives once grew. Now, though it is flat, it forever bears the mark of motherhood. Turning to look at Shen Nanlang sleeping soundly on the bed, a faint smile touches my lips. In this lifetime, I have become the person I wanted to be, strong, independent, and untouchable. Revenge is complete, and so is life. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.